Welcome to Mr. Podcast with Claude.
And Justin.
We're back with our Leftovers podcast covering episode 307, The Most Powerful Man in the World and His Identical Twin Brother. Dun dun dun.
Uh-oh.
Who's it gonna be? Well, if you thought the main character of the show would be the most powerful man in the world and also his identical twin brother, you'd be right.
Good
Good
guess.
guess.
If you thought God would be the most powerful man in the world,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be
You'd be
wrong.
wrong. Bad guess. Yeah, that's very. So that was an interesting surprise. I mean, and you asked the question, I believe, the last podcast. When we saw David Burton again, would we come back to what he whispered to Kevin on the bridge?
Yep,
And they did.
they
And what he
did.
whispered to him changed everything. It completely, which I did not expect. Calls into question Kevin's actions after that point. Almost everything he's done after that, I think, needs reevaluation because he was just told the most dangerous thing you can tell someone.
Yeah, that's true.
And so what does that mean for his willingness to kill Patty and or push her in the well and all that stuff and then to believe Matt and his book and
Right,
the apostles following him around and all that stuff. I mean, like before we
right,
thought he was just had the information that we had about what was happening to him, more or less. But now, yeah,
right.
this whole whispering thing and why that was a secret. I mean, I guess because it's such a powerful context to what he's doing is the reason to keep it a secret. But
Right.
we asked the question before too. Why does David Burton know what Kevin needs to do when he's in the hotel world? And
Mm-hmm.
the answer we get is I don't know why. Because he
No.
does, like he does or he doesn't or what. I mean, yeah, I found that to be interesting. We didn't actually get the answer to that. We got this weird like Kevin didn't even actually have to listen to him.
Right. Right. Yeah, he totally abandons him at a
Hmm.
certain point and never goes back.
Yeah, which I think
Um,
means the only reason, when Kevin, pushed Patty and got out of the hotel world, and when he, sang and got out of the hotel world, I guess the only reason that worked, it wasn't because David Burton knew that was going to work. It was because Kevin believed it was going to work, because he's the most powerful man in the world, and so whatever he thought was the way to do it, it was the way to do it.
yeah, and I'll just say this, who would be the most powerful man in the world of a world that he created himself?
Yeah, 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 David Burton can't be God if Kevin created that whole world, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And he shrugs it off. It was pretty hilarious. It was like a weird moment when uh when Meg references God and he says this thing like what was the thing he said? He said uh she was like, I have a man in my life and it's God.
hmm
Um, and oh right, and he said, "Tell her I love her too." Um, and then later on, like Kevin calls him on that, and he's like, "It was just a pickup line."
Yeah, exactly. On one hand he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm God," and on the other hand he's like, "No, just made that up." Like, so is that supposed to be our final word on David Burton? That like he knew he was faking the entire time?
It seems like that might be the final word. I mean, the weird thing about it is like I don't even know how to take it. Like the so you know it's leftovers, right? I mean, down to the second to last episode. I mean, it's still very um it's still very hard to come down with a definitive conclusion
Mm-hmm.
about all this stuff because it's sort of like it's really easy, and I think like in this episode more than any other one, I'm tempted to say that it's all in Kevin's head. You know?
It's funny you say that, right? I would agree with you, except we get the only hard piece of evidence that it's not all in Kevin's head. with Christopher Sunday. Like, that is the only thing we've seen that really proves a connection to the real world and has information Kevin doesn't have, right? Um, so,
Well, what information did he have?
well, glad you asked. Well, he knew, he references a conversation that Christopher Sunday had with Kevin Sr. He
Right,
he
right,
references the fact that he told the dad that there was no song to stop the rain.
right, right.
That was the big thing to me is that he basically reiterated what he said was there's no song. Now Kevin doesn't know that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
presumably
I
not.
don't remember a scene where Kevin Sr. told Kevin what he, details of
Oh,
what
that
he,
definitely. Let alone what he looks
let
like.
alone what it
I
looks like. Yeah,
mean,
you're right. I'm
he
sorry.
could
That
have
was the
seen a
other.
picture, but that wasn't on screen.
That's the other thing too. Yeah, you're right. Is that he had the right guy. He conjured the right guy. However that
Yeah,
happened.
yeah.
And now, so there's the evidence. It's so again. I think it's funny. It's the leftovers. The same moment that we're like, this has to all be in Kevin's head. This can't be real. We get actual this like the most proof we have that it is real.
Right.
Um, not Israel, but that it is real. Uh, so yeah, I don't. So that really confused me. Because I think there's a possibility here that maybe we didn't think of before, which is it's fake and it's real. This idea that maybe if you create a world so real in your head, it can actually access tangible information in the real world. Like, is that a thing? Can that happen?
Right.
You
That's
know, you know
interesting.
what that actually is? It's the fucking, it's the movie Source Code. Actually, is what it is.
Oh,
Because
you're
that's
right.
exactly what happened on Source Code. Spoiler alert, which
You're
is a movie Justin
right.
and I did not like. But the
No,
central
not one
premise of that
bit.
movie, God, I'm hating this the more I describe it. I hope this is not what they're saying on the show. But the
Oh my
premise of that movie
god.
was that the source code machine created a virtual simulation of the real world, but it was somehow able to actually extract real knowledge from the real world. It shouldn't have like the license plate of the bomber or what was in a particular the van or what the bomb looked like in the van. And there was a couple of
Right.
other things that they were getting clues to the real world mystery and answers from the virtual machine that shouldn't know those answers. But that was the
Well,
whole idea,
yeah.
right? Was that it created something so real that there was real knowledge there.
It was like, yeah, like it transcended the input somehow. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, yeah, that was the thing about it. It was like they sent him in and he's supposed to find the bomber and it's like, well, shouldn't the simulation know where the bomber is? I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like,
That
why
was
is
our whole
this a
thing. Why can't you just
mystery?
open up a terminal and query where is bomb? And then
Yeah!
like
Isn't
and
that
just search the
easier?
code for what it's gonna say it is. Yeah.
But it was, yeah, it was sort of like they were creating reality somehow, like a
Mm-hmm.
new reality. And so they didn't really have
Yeah.
complete control or understanding of it.
Yeah, and I guess in a way, like the source code isn't the same as the information being generated by the source code. So you could
Right,
search the source code itself, but that wouldn't be the same information as it's generating. So maybe that's their way
right,
out of that idea of just search your computer for the answer if your computer can make the answer.
right, right.
So I don't know. Is Kevin source code? Is he the source code machine of this show? Is that what they're trying to say?
Yeah,
That yes, it was a fabricated world, but a fabricated world can access real information.
right. He tapped into the collective unconscious or
Mm-hmm.
some kind of universal stream of knowledge that
Yeah,
was able to provide him with information
and
that
people.
he didn't have in his life. And yeah, seemingly like, and again, I mean that it was a little questionable, but seemingly like the real people are some kind of real version of these
Mm-hmm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's not
it
unlike
wasn't
Twin
just
Peaks,
his
it
version.
seems. In terms of people, there's the red room, waiting room place, red curtain, zigzag floor. But then there's the White and the Black Lodge, which are presumably other places that can be accessed through there. That place is like
Right.
Grand Central Station or something, and
Right.
and so the idea, we see characters come there from somewhere else and then leave, so it seems like that's kind of that idea too, where a character can leave whatever existence that they were in and go help Kevin if he needs it, and then presumably vanish back to wherever they were, whatever eternity they're living out.
Right. Right.
It's a very strange thing, and it calls into question, how do you know that's even the real person? Maybe he just manifested a version of Patty,
Right.
that has her knowledge, but it's not really her. You
Right.
get to
Right.
those levels of detail, and it's probably impossible to figure out.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, anyway, so that's how it came off to me. It was a little bit, sort of a classic Lindelof shuffle of, is it A or is it B? It's like, well, no, it's A and B. It's a little
Of
bit of
course.
both. So that's kind of
Right.
how it's coming off to me, because I don't know how he could know what Christopher Sunday looks like. And that's the thing. If Christopher Sunday was a politician in the real world, I'd go, oh, well, maybe Kevin saw him somewhere, but he's,
Right.
off the radar, in the
Yeah.
outback or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's not somebody he should have known. And Christopher Sunday, he talked like he was dead, and that he
Right.
knew of his past life and everything.
That's
Um,
true. Yeah, he referenced the conversation. So like some of the other characters in this world, didn't seem to be able to like break that
mm-hmm.
illusion or whatever. Like they were just like,
Mm-hmm.
fixated on
They were
the
playing the
sort of,
role that they had in
yeah.
in his Matrix.
Exactly. This whole like weird, he's the guilty remnant president or something,
Oh,
and there's
jeez.
a big war, and yeah. And he's an assassin, and yeah, you
Yeah,
know.
if you were wondering if the Guilty Remnant was going to come back, and who knew they'd come back as a political party, um, who's won the White
Right,
House?
right, right. But the weird thing was that, well, I mean, as far as David Burton goes, where we started this, like the thing is that I don't think I don't think Kevin knows that they like met him on the boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they didn't put that together.
Right? Because like, yeah, they don't have enough clues to know they're talking about the same person.
Mm-hmm.
And yet like the David Burton in his head or whatever, like makes this jokey reference to the idea that he's God, which seemingly he didn't do, within Kevin's like world, you know. I mean, he never specifically claimed that, so it was like this weird coincidence, that he would do that when Kevin doesn't even know
Yeah, it's like
that he
he's
was
doing
doing that in
it.
the real world.
He's kind of doing it because the audience knows what he's referencing.
Right.
Um, but it's
Yeah, and then
just
he
enough.
plays it off like it was just a pickup, and then it's like, oh, it's some weird coincidence.
Yeah, from reading the International Assassins script, we were talking previously on the podcast how they described that moment when David Burton whispers to Kevin is a conversation between Allah and Muhammad. So,
Right, right.
they really played that out where David Burton is quote
Yeah,
unquote God and Kevin is the new prophet.
definitely.
So it's interesting that was back then. They already had that idea.
That was clearly in the mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird. Yeah, it wouldn't really help Kevin to know that he's kind of one step removed from the boat stuff.
Right.
It's I think it'd be a bit hard to kind of go, well, yeah, I know Matt or something, or tell Matt to get better, or I don't know, like, but it'd be hard to really be like, I'm the guy that got killed by the lion, or whatever. um,
Right.
uh,
Well, the thing that's confusing about it is that, like he's dead now,
mm-hmm,
right? So it turns out, seemingly at least, I mean, I doubt they're going to do this in the last episode. Like turns out he maybe doesn't have a twin brother.
mm-hmm,
They're not going down that road, which is what I thought was gonna happen. But he was in Kevin's crazy world, which like now is kind of beyond the hotel. I mean, it kind of answered the question you were asking. Like, are they all gonna be in the hotel?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh no,
He'll
they'll
just go out there.
populate the Earth.
Yeah, who? Why would his imagination stop there? He can go wherever he wants to go. It's his reality.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that he was there, the first two times, before he was dead,
Mm-hmm.
like that makes him kind of unique. Of course, we don't know who all the people are who were there, but all the people that Kevin knew were people who were dead,
Mm-hmm.
with the exception of Mary.
Well,
Who was
David
in that
Burton
weird.
died before.
He
And,
did die
and
before.
we
Is
don't
that did I,
know, I guess, exactly when he came back.
That's true.
I
It
would.
was. I mean, it was certainly before Kevin had his adventures in the hotel, because I believe there were reports about it in season 2. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they were before that episode.
Yeah, that
Was-
would suggest that David Burton was back at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but is it a thing where anyone who's dead can show up there because it's after time or it's outside of time, and so
If you were ever dead,
yeah, you can be
you
there.
know, is so yeah, maybe. But it really makes him stand out. I mean, it's just very, it's
It
it's a
doesn't.
strange role.
Actually, that's kind of an interesting idea. I wonder maybe that's why David Burton was even pulled into Kevin's world. Is Kevin like wanted to know what to do, and so he sort of subconsciously conjured God. Someone who could tell him what to do.
Right.
and so David Burton, who's playing like he's God, is who showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the idea there. Cause I'm just trying to figure out why is he involved anyway? Like to start with, especially
Right,
if
yeah.
if they're trying to say like he's able to be in the hotel world when he's not dead.
Yeah. I guess that's why I was holding out, and I was even certain, because they're going to Australia, I was certain that they would have a real world encounter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it looks like that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's still like that off chance that there's a news story about David Burton and he sees it on TV and then he's like, oh, that guy, some
Right.
some posthumous thing, acknowledgement, perhaps.
It is possible. It just seems like, they've, I mean, they basically destroyed this world. It just seems like that part of the story is over.
Did they?
Didn't they?
Like, that's the question. Can God destroy the world He created? Is it
Can't he?
Can He? I don't know. I mean, it seems and if he can, does that mean he can't recreate it? So if Kevin dies again, he just dies and he doesn't go to the hotel? I mean, is that the idea?
Mhm.
Why can't, if he's the most powerful man in the world, why can't he conjure a new reality?
Well,
Is
that's where it
is
starts to
one of
seem
those-
psychological.
It
Like
seems like
was
it seems like the end of Fight Club, where like
yeah,
he had to like psych himself out to get
Yeah.
the result he wanted. So if he believes that he shot
lot like
himself,
that, yeah.
or if he believed he was going to kill himself when he shot himself, then that's enough to kill Tyler Durden.
right.
But so if he believes that he's destroying the world with nuclear weapons, then that's enough to really destroy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it doesn't rule out the possibility that he could do something like that again.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like it's a representation. Again, that's where it really starts to seem so subjective, like a representation of like, putting this to rest, like moving on from the need to escape to this
Yeah.
to this world. Which I feel like I should have seen coming.
Well, it's his
And
whole thing. It's his Kevin wants to leave, and that's his whole modus
yeah, and I
operandi.
guess I didn't really understand that he like that this place was like a refuge for him.
Yeah, where he got to
Um,
be the hero and not have any responsibilities. I mean, that definitely was there, and I guess that's what the bag thing was about. Because I didn't really think the bag thing was about him trying to go back to the hotel, but that
I was
seems to
just gonna
be.
ask about the bag
It seems
thing.
to be what they're suggesting, right? That was. I mean, it works better if that's what the truth is, right? Because the whole point is he the if he needs to destroy this place so it's not a place he can escape to, then it should be that he has been trying to escape there repeatedly,
Right.
more than just the two times he went there. And I think around that time they do. There is a shot of him doing the bag thing in this whole
Th-
part.
there is, yeah. So it was interesting because I feel like it was kind of implied that that's what he was doing, but it wasn't stated. He didn't say
Yeah,
literally
but and what
that's what
what
it
confused me
was.
is that what he did say was, I just wanted to feel dot dot dot, and so I was like, oh, he's doing it for some other reason related to him, his death and stuff like that.
Well, he did tell Lori that when he was in the hotel, he never felt more alive or something like that. So, I mean,
mm-hmm.
maybe it still ties in.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think it still ties in, but it just threw me off. He's not like, I just wanted to go to, or I just wanted to,
Right,
whatever. So.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's certainly related to feelings in some way, but I don't know. It was weird that you sort of get your answer, but they, I don't know. I feel like with a lot of points, like for example, the stuff at the end involving Nora, they underline it very clearly what the point is,
Mm-hmm.
what the takeaway is, what he's thinking, you know. And yeah, with that thing, it wasn't really it wasn't really stated clearly.
Yeah. Something else I wanted to bring up, but this whole thing, that I don't remember. Um, yeah, I forgot. It'll come back to me.
Okay.
It'll come back. But overall, I thought it was an interesting episode. Uh, it reminded me of like a video game where he's playing the
Yeah.
villain and the hero and he's switching, which is a pretty interesting
Yeah.
like idea to see. I was a little disappointed in the final scene that the two Kevins didn't actually have more of a conversation with each other directly. I kind of expected them to be like, "Shut up, Patty," and then like them two to talk and work things out.
Right.
Because when do you have an opportunity to talk to yourself?
Right.
Like that. Um, they kind of resolved the issues, because they were kind of two parts of the whole. He had the key, and he was the
Right.
president, and they both had the power, half of the power to destroy the world, sort of a thing. That
Right.
whole idea was weird and interesting. That's a safeguard that they have now to put the key to the bomb in a person. So if
Right.
you're gonna kill a bunch of people, you have to kill this like one person up close. It's an interesting
Right.
idea. Um, Very sci-fi-ish dystopian idea, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's a not to give too much away if you haven't seen Legion, but there's a very good scene in Legion that is reminiscent of this whole two Kevins thing. That worked out really interesting and very well. But reminded me of that also. But yeah, you want to get into the episode here? There's a lot to talk about.
Sure. I
I
mean, so
accidentally
like
just. Oh man, sorry, I was skipping through the episode. I went too far, and I saw a scene from the next episode.
what?
Yeah, I know. I hate promos, man. They
How
just
did you? Oh,
ruin.
it's a promo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
went too
yeah.
far in the end, and I saw a thing, and
I haven't seen
it's
any promos. I'm glad.
that shot of Kevin at the end of this episode of Kevin and Kevin Senior on the roof.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw that image probably around episode 2. I
Oh
accidentally saw
God.
part of a promo and it showed that, and that's why I knew like, well, he's gonna go to Australia and they're gonna I knew that much. Like it was fairly
Wow.
clear. But
That gives a lot away.
yeah, and I'm
Jeez.
surprised how deep in the season that shot was from. I mean, Jesus
Extremely deep.
Christ. Yeah, yeah, wow.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Yeah, no, I'm glad I didn't see that in advance.
Yeah, the shot I just saw tells me where we're gonna go back, where we're gonna go to, but it doesn't do much more than that, so I'm not too spoiled, I
Okay.
guess. But
Okay.
yeah, there's a lot of weird. This is I guess the third hotel episode, so it's very weird and crazy, like those are.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Um and yeah, it's more elaborate um than the previous one. So
Mhm.
there's just a lot of stuff here that like it's just a weird thing to talk about because like the sort of basic thing that's happening here is pretty simple.
Mhm.
but but the the road to get there is very very convoluted. Um and I guess another like general thing to know before we dive in that like kind of I don't know if surprise is the right word, but I was it made an impression on me or something. Just the fact that like I mean he had this mission, three missions really that he was supposed to accomplish,
Mhm.
and they were all failures.
Mhm.
Like all failures. Now he told John that he gave Evie the message,
Yeah.
but she clearly didn't understand. I mean, it wasn't.
Yep. Yep.
She was playing character. She was in character, so no, you killed my family. And it's like he didn't mention to John that's what she said because it was. I mean, it was basically lost on her what the point of the message was.
Yep.
That's the closest to success that he
Mhm.
got. He didn't
Mhm.
find out where the shoes were, and
Yep.
didn't get the song either.
Which
So
I think was my guess. I think that's what I was suggesting was going to happen. It didn't make any sense. He was really going to learn a song and repeat it to him, and he was going to do it before the flood and all that. And the
right,
shoes thing was that I laughed out loud. I mean, who knew that was a possibility for an answer? That the kid themselves would be like, "Why does it matter?" I couldn't believe that. I mean, we talk a lot, especially on the Lost podcast, but in general about this the Lindelofian writing style and how it's kind of like a it takes two to tango thing where like they lead you down a path and make you think a certain thing and then you go, oh, it's this thing, and then they reveal what it is and it's not that thing and you feel bad that you even thought that, but it's kind of your fault, right? They led you down there, but you also went with them.
right,
And I felt like this was one of those things too, where it was like, "Where's the shoes? We're gonna get an answer for the shoes." But the answer was, "Does it matter? Like, why does it matter where the shoes are?" And it's just like,
right,
damn it, you had us invested in this shoe thing, but you didn't tell us why does it matter. Could be an answer, or is a viable answer to that question, or else we would have been thinking that like that, or that specifically.
right, right. Yeah, and I guess like another thing that happened with this episode is that yeah, I mean, I guess I was invested and like committed to this idea that Kevin should go back to the hotel and like try to accomplish these missions and like maybe find something else out or whatever.
Mhm.
Like at a certain point, like characters start at like, why are you doing this?
Mhm.
What's your goal? Like, what do you really care about here? Are you do you actually do you actually
Yeah, that's
believe
what Christopher
that?
Sunday says. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like I didn't even really worry about that for some reason, even though it's like, yeah, did he really believe that? I mean, it's sort of it didn't seem that believable. I mean, we thought it was bullshit right away, and yet the story seemed committed to it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it
that's
was
another
like,
example where it's like, yeah, who knew that the answer was, "Great, Kevin, do you even believe this? You don't? Okay, then what are you even doing here? Right?
yeah,
What's your point?
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I guess I didn't expect the story to go in that direction. it kind of threw me, even though like I think I should have.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's my fault that I didn't expect that. Because it's you know, I mean, it's a logical place to go, and obviously, like they have to address like what it means for Kevin to be doing this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like so far, it's just he's just been
Well,
sort
that's
of
that's the whole point of the hotel world is like it's all about Kevin, right? It's all
yeah,
about him confronting whatever he's supposed to be doing or not doing. So that makes sense. It
right,
would get to that point, and that's really that's what Christopher Sunday and the kids and even Evie in a way were like, yeah, the whole point that the reason you're here is pointless. Like that's not a reason to be
right,
here, you know?
right. Yeah, exactly. And it's sort of like everyone was like pushing him to do this,
Mm-hmm.
and so until we actually get to this point, there wasn't even a pause to.
Yeah, but it seemed like that was a valid reason, though, like to help these other people, right? That seemed like
Sure.
going in, that was a valid reason to do these things. Whether or not Kevin believed, you know, the flood was going to stop, destroy the world and his dad could stop it,
Right.
like it seemed like it was enough that he was being selfless to help these people, willing
Right.
to the Jesus thing, willing to sacrifice himself.
Right.
But it's like, yeah, that didn't seem to matter. It's almost like the fact that you were willing to sacrifice yourself for these to help these people do something you don't necessarily believe in just another example of how you're trying to escape your life. That
Right.
seems to be the point,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
which is
Exactly.
weird.
It is weird.
It's like, hey, I'm gonna run into this burning building to save your possessions. It seems like I'm being selfless here, but really I'm just addicted to danger, or I
Right.
have a suicidal complex or something, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's very
Yeah.
interesting.
It gives me another reason to escape reality.
Yeah, I don't have to be here. Yeah. Um. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I mean, we'll see what the last episode is, but just looking at what the whole show is so far, it's definitely not where I thought it was going. It definitely got more narrow in focus as the show went on.
Yes.
And the last remaining thread is really the end of Nora's story, which will presumably
Right.
be the next episode. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting to see. It's definitely been a wild ride. I think once the show's over, I'll process like what I think about season 3. Um, but it's definitely been interesting.
Yeah. 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 I agree.
All right, you want to dive in?
All right. So we open up on a flashback with Kevin and Nora in the good old days.
There were good days.
Um, yeah, I guess these were better days. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just talking about what they want to happen to them when they die, and uh, Nora wants to be cremated, and Kevin says he wants to be stuffed. I guess he means that. Um, and then we find out that Nora wants him to grow a beard.
Or does she?
So, seemingly, or at least possibly, that idea is floated out there. And I think we kind of get an answer to a question we weren't really asking, which is why did Kevin grow a beard?
Yep. Yep. The thing no one really was asking. Yeah, we got the answer.
Which is a classic Lindelof trick.
Is it? Is it?
Here's your answer.
Is it? Yeah. Excuse me, sir. Is this the answer you've been waiting for? No. Okay. Here it is. Anyway. Yeah. Is the idea that he did it like just like the relationship was falling apart and he'll just do it to try to appease her, or am I thinking too
Yeah,
deeply?
I
But
get. I mean, that seems like a valid thing to say. I mean, I assumed it was simpler than that, but
hmm
that's certainly a part of the story.
yeah.
So I mean, this is when they still have Lily, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like these are still like relatively good times.
But aren't they just? But they're all still unhappy during all this time.
Well,
They're just
yeah,
they're just functioning better. They're not like
yeah,
arguing with each other, but they're still aren't they miserable the entire time on the show? Like, and
kind
any
of.
happiness is just like a brief respite from the misery.
Man, you make this show sound so miserable.
I mean,
Holy shit.
that's what I'm. I mean, it seems like that's their point. Like, like when Kevin was like, because that's what I thought we were watching before. When they were dysfunctional, but they were dysfunctional in the same way. Not in the same way, but like proportionally, and it kind of worked anyway. And it was like, well, okay, this is just a different kind of couple. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like they can have their issues, but when Kevin's like, hey. I told you what was up with me, and you like strapped me to the bed and left. Then it's and that last time I told you handcuffed me. You know what I mean? It's like they called into question that those actions weren't healthy
Right.
responses. So it's like, oh, okay, then you're basically saying they were miserable and unhappy the entire time, which is, you know, that's kind of what Jill's whole thing was about. No one will ever be okay again.
Right.
And they weren't okay this whole time, basically. you
Yeah.
know,
Well, yeah, and
but a beard is gonna fix it.
sure, why not? Yeah, and I mean, I even thought from the karaoke sequence that, that he had some moment there. I mean, I guess I feel like there's been various moments in the show where Kevin has like come to terms with, this impulse he has to run away,
But also go home.
and and decided to recommit, and like,
hmm
no, I actually do want to be home. Yeah, exactly. Like that's I for some reason I'm drawn to running away all the time, but in the end,
In the end, once I'm away, guess where I want to be? I want to be home. But when I'm
yeah.
home, guess where I want to be? I want to be away.
Well, I mean, that's what makes this ending seem like not such a clear happy ending, I guess, because it's sort of like, I mean, maybe it's more extreme, but I mean, he's been down that road before.
hmm
Oh no, I should go back now.
Well, and that's what's
You
weird
know,
is he's like, yeah, if you really want to be home, why do you keep coming back to this other world? And he's like, fine, I'll just take that choice from myself to come here, and that'll fix me. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like that'll fix you, right?
yeah,
Yeah, it seems like he needs to address why he wants to leave, not that
right,
not prevent himself from leaving. I mean, isn't that the same as
yeah,
handcuffing yourself to the bed? Like you're
yeah,
just
kind
chaining
of,
yourself to your
yeah.
problem. You're not actually addressing the problem. Yeah, so it's weird. By the end of the thing, this episode, he didn't really address his problem so
I mean,
much
it
as he
seems
just
like
blew it up.
being willing to let go of the place seems like it's some kind
hmm
of
hmm
positive sign, but generally I
But
agree. I mean,
isn't that it's a order of magnitude lesser, but it's the same as singing karaoke. He was willing to leave
yeah, I
that
know.
world and
Yeah,
go
you're
home.
right.
And yeah,
You're
it's a bigger
right.
magnitude because it's sort of more final now, and it was literally had magnitudes of nuclear megawatts or
Right.
megatons, I should say. But I don't know. I feel like if you can create a universe, you can probably do it again. You'd probably do it again.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Anyway,
it's a good point.
I'm trying to see what else about this opening scene. So when Nora says she wants to be cremated, I thought that was an interesting callback to the death ray machine, because that's basically what she said
Oh yeah.
was there
That's a
people are
good
just
point.
vaporizing themselves. So the fact that she's like, I want to
Oh
be
god.
vaporized.
So I mean, I guess that could feed into the idea that she went through the machine, and that's what we saw in the flash forward.
Why? Wait, what?
if the machine cremates her,
but doesn't really cremate her? You mean?
Well, yeah. It cremates her and transports her somewhere else. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the idea was that it was one or the other.
Yeah, yeah. Don't Lindelof this thing and say
But
it's
but you know
both.
what I'm saying. Like it's connected to the idea of going through
Yeah,
the
yeah. I know what you're
thing,
saying. Yeah, yeah.
which
Yeah.
may or may not happen. I'm expecting it not to happen, but maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
I think I think she goes through the thing, man. I think
I
Kevin went and died and went to the world. I think she's gonna go to her own strange version of the world.
okay.
Um, there was an actually interesting symmetry that I was thinking about between Leftovers and Twin Peaks in terms of the characters being in the regular world and then going to another world, and I was thinking
Yeah.
how Kevin goes to the other world by dying, which reminded me of like Cooper. Uh, well, kind of like when he got shot, how he saw the giant and all that stuff. But it was making me think like that, sort of transitioning to another world, like organically or something, versus doing it through like other means, so like Nora might go to some version of that world through the machine, and then
Right.
we saw like another way you can get to the Black Lodge is like through the Glastonbury Grove. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like this
Right.
this tool that gets you there, sort of a thing.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, I was thinking about that.
With the aid of technology.
Yeah, some kind of thing like that.
Yeah. 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 Uh.
So I'm assuming,
Yeah.
yeah, Nora's gonna go to some other world, man.
That reminds me. This episode really highlighted for me. Because this is like one of the crazier leftovers episodes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
This really highlighted for me like one of the differences between the leftovers and Twin Peaks, which is like Twin Peaks really commits to the supernatural in a way that
Yeah. Yep.
is pretty undeniable. I
It's
mean,
real, for real, for real, real.
you have to work really hard to try to explain how there's nothing supernatural in Twin Peaks.
You can't. You're wrong if you say that. You're just wrong. Because things happen outside of subjective experience. So it has to be objectively happening.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, like there were moments in season one where maybe it was up for interpretation
Mm-hmm.
about Bob and stuff like that, but
Mm-hmm.
certainly by the end of the series, Fire Walk with Me, and definitely with the new stuff, it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, because it's
good
like
luck.
you can't say the people above the convenience store aren't real. Like, whose imagination are they? Then,
Right,
Philip
right,
Jeffries made all that up. Yet we're gonna see these characters through other people's subjective experience
right,
too. Like,
right.
doesn't quite add up. Yeah, I think that is the big difference. Is that Leftovers and Lindelof is more about is trying to mirror actual reality a bit more by saying things could be supernatural or not. It depends on your meaning and
Right.
what meaning you place on things. But Lynch is like wants to say something about our world by actually showing the supernatural
Right.
and all the craziness that's out there.
Yeah.
Because that's how he
Yeah.
thinks,
Yeah.
right? He thinks ideas are just in the ether, and you have to kind of catch them, and like
Right.
I think he does, his like personal philosophy, ties into that whole thing, and he's just kind of trying to depict it.
Right. Right. And the ideas don't have to be something that exists in
Mm.
normal reality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't think Kevin wants to be stuffed. I think he was joking.
Yeah, it seemed like he was joking, but
But it was an interesting, and like, do they do that?
do they do that?
I
I have no
mean,
idea.
not actually
Uh,
taxidermy on humans, but I mean, I wonder how long a body lasts. I guess not that long, when they do the prepared for burial and
Oh
formaldehyde
yeah,
and all that
yeah, yeah.
stuff. I
No, I
guess it
don't think
doesn't
too
really
long.
last too long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It made me think, does anybody do that? Human taxidermy? That'd be really creepy.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any laws about it, or
Mm-hmm.
if
Sounds
just
like
like
there should be some laws about that.
that's what I would guess. Yeah, yeah. But if someone really wanted it, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just no one or very few people ever want that, or maybe it's expensive.
Well, with enough time and money, you can stuff anyone.
True.
uh, yeah, there's an article about that. Anyway, I won't go into it. But yeah, it was nice to get this moment of Nora and Kevin.
This is a way to get a Nora and Kevin scene, even though
Yeah,
they've been separated since episode 4.
and I think a sort of bookend to like whatever they're gonna end on,
Right.
because this is them nice and happy,
Right.
and then the other bookend will be probably the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's definitely, I would say, the big question going forward, since like this episode really reframed, in case you didn't already have the frame around this to begin with, which like you brought up a few times, that I mean, Damon Lindelof basically said it in interviews that like this, Kevin Nora romance was the focus of the show. So if you didn't already have that, I mean, this episode makes clear that, like, going into the last episode, that's going to be a major point.
Mm-hmm.
What he's going to do, now that he's had this realization that he,
So, I
fucked
have
up.
a crackpot theory about where Kevin's going to end up at the end.
Okay.
I think he's going to be dead at the end.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I think it'll be like he's gonna die. He knows he's about to die, and the lingering question will be: is he gonna go to the hotel world or not? And it'll be one of that's the ending I see, is like he actually, because here's the thing, and kind of what we were talking about before about Kevin wants to run away from his life, yet when he goes to the hotel world, he wants to leave there too. It's like he feels guilty, right? He feels the guilt of like, he knows he shouldn't want to leave his life, right?
Right.
So when he's confronted with that, he's like, oh, you're right. I should do the thing that is morally right or whatever, and go back to my life. But that's not where he wants to be. And again, I don't think he's fixed that by taking the hotel world off the table. I don't think that fixes the problem. Because he's going to go right back to his life, and the problems will still be there, right? So I think that might be his realization that, kind of like Lori's realization that she just wanted to die, and I think he'll have some maybe heroic reason, or he'll save Nora, or it'll be for her or something, but I feel like he dies. I don't know. That's my intuition. Is that's his character arc, is to just be dead at the end. Not that I want him to be dead, but I feel like that's where story's going. Like, to go to leave someplace where he doesn't know where he's gonna go. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let the mystery be.
Yeah. I could see. I mean, I definitely see some ambiguity in the future. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not so clear that he's gonna end up dead, but then again, I really don't have a clear sense of. It just seems like they could go for a range of types of endings, and I really don't know. I really don't know what the plan is. So it's hard to guess like what tone they want the ending to have. If they want to go for a more tragic ending, bittersweet with various combinations of bitter or sweet, or like actually a happy ending. You know,
I think it'll be bittersweet. That's what the show is. The show has very rarely ever been happy. Um, Here's a random ending that could possibly happen that kind of is both our ideas. What if, you know, so at the end of this episode, Kevin's on the roof with his dad or whatever. Presumably their shit's done and he's gonna be interested where Nora went.
yeah,
And so maybe he goes to find Nora and she's gone through the machine. And um, and maybe they think she's dead. Maybe it is a weird thing where there's like there's like cremated remains or
yeah,
something, and
mm-hmm,
but it's like her clothes maybe or something like that, and but
yeah.
they think it's her body or something, and they think she's dead. So maybe Kevin's like kills himself to go find her in the afterlife or something, and he ends up showing up in the other world she goes to,
Mm-hmm.
inexplicably. And it's like the end of Battlestar Galactica or something, where they're like on this new world and starting over in this kind of new world,
Having a baby,
having a baby.
mitochondrial Eve.
Yeah, yeah, ribosome Kevin and mitochondrial Eve. Yeah, ribosome Adam. I mean, yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that there is like other people on that, that other lady's there, and there's a church and stuff, I would totally think.
Is it too late for
I know.
mitochondrial Eve?
Yeah, you're mitochondrially too late. But yeah, right. That's the kind of thing I would guess if we didn't already have seen other people in that world.
That would be I could see something like that as their version of a happy ending, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Not just as simple as like he saves her and he's like, oh, I shouldn't have run away. Let's go have a baby. Like I doubt that's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if they throw in that extra thing, that starts to make it seem possible.
And that's how they could keep it being ambiguous. Is
Right.
the idea that they both died?
Right.
Yet we
right.
see them in this other place. Yet we know Kevin destroyed his other place, right?
Right.
So it'll be like, well, it can't be that, right? So maybe
Right.
it is the real other world or something.
Right.
Yeah. That's something they could pull off.
Yeah. I agree. That's definitely a possibility.
Now I think the big remaining question is, will the departed people be there?
Yeah, and at this point, I really think no. But it's the one episode where if they really want to throw something out there, they can. I don't know. I strongly feel like the show is committed to like not even going that far to giving answers about the departed.
What about this? What if they go to the other world and it's like, yep, no departed people here, and then right before the show ends, the departed people show up?
Yeah.
And
okay.
And they catch the baby. That the baby that disappeared from the lady's car? Like that they get that baby in the end or something. And that's their new baby.
Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. It's weird. Yeah, you know what? I mean, that is definitely possible.
Because then it's like, where do the departed people go? Well, they went to this place, but is this place where the dead people go?
Right.
Because Kevin and Nora could be dead.
Right.
Or is it some other place?
It doesn't necessarily answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
It just, but it, gives like some kind of weird resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, trying to get the crackpot theories in there before the end.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I wish I feel like when Lost was ending, I had a better idea of.
Mm-hmm.
I had a better idea of what was gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't guess the Flash Sideways reveal, but just like the on island stuff, I sort of knew what the mission was, some idea of that, and like what they would have to do. The path isn't as clear here, except that like Kevin has to go find Nora. You know, beyond that, it seems like it could go in a number of directions, and the machine should be involved in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like as casually as they dismissed like some things along those lines in this episode, it's sort of like I could see them dismissing the machine. I don't think the machine has to play an important role.
Yeah, I just think they're right up at the gate. They're right there. I think we're gonna see the machine. That's my intuition. Like, I think they're doing this parallel sort of storytelling here. I don't know. That's what makes sense to me. That Kevin had a way to get to, excuse me, get to another place. That was him running away from his life, and Nora has a way to get to a place that's her running away from her life. Excuse me while I drink some water. Yeah, that's I wouldn't have thought that a few episodes ago. Before I was completely convinced that the machine wasn't going to play a big role. I was convinced we wouldn't see the Bible anymore or Kevin's book. But yeah, I think the show is telling us we're going that direction.
I don't know why they even brought the book back. I mean, it still doesn't seem like it mattered.
Well, and Kevin Sr. doesn't give a shit about that book now, right? I mean, he was.
I know.
He's having a hard time up on that roof. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I don't think it matters to him.
Who does it matter to at this point?
Who does it matter to? Yeah, I mean, no one. No one who I think are our main focus characters. Maybe there's some other person's gonna come and find it, and but I don't know. I was gonna say earlier because I was just thinking about the validity of the book. If somebody else finds it, what are they gonna really think? And it was, most of it's burned, so there's kind of not gonna be that much context, I think. So maybe that's. I don't know why we had the book, but I was just thinking. I still don't buy David Burton dying the first time. I don't know. Something's weird about that. I still think he was lying about that. Because like the way it works for Kevin can't just like break all his bones in his body and then resurrect. Like he dies in a very specific way where his like body isn't damaged irreparably. Yet that's how David Burton described his death. Like he fell, rock climbing or whatever, and that would have broken bones, and organ damage. So I don't know. I don't buy it.
Fair enough.
All right, you want to go to the next part?
Yeah. So then we flash forward to the present. At first I think we see Kevin. It's like already on the seesaw.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I was like, what the fuck? Really?
Mm-hmm.
We're not even gonna have a build up. But it was not exactly what I thought. So then we go inside and we see all the other characters waking up after Lori drugged them in the last episode. And they're all like, "Oh God, where's Kevin? We gotta hurry up and
we're late for Armageddon."
We're late for Armageddon. There you go. So they're worried. Did she talk Kevin out of it? What's going on? No, his horse is there, and so they eventually find that Kevin's outside on the thing. They pull him up. And I'm like, what the fuck? Pulling him up?
Mm-hmm.
I thought the whole point I thought we'd do it together. Okay. Aww.
A family that kills together stays
is,
together.
is that touching? I mean, it's just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think he was kind of just saying what the audience thought. Like, oh, we thought it'd be a whole ritual, and we'd gather around, and
Right,
we'd prepare. And Kevin's like, I just figured I'd do it now and get it done with.
right. Yeah, because,
He
like,
didn't. He didn't seem to have a plan though of getting up. Once he
yeah,
came back, he seemed like he would have just drowned again.
if they didn't come get him, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, Kevin, what are you doing? Even when even when it makes sense for you to go kill yourself, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So then they pop him back in, and you know, the music starts, and we realize we're transitioning into Kevin's Crazy World, which is, beyond the hotel at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he wakes up in the ocean, I guess, and some guy comes up and like attacks him.
Mm-hmm. It's Russian. This guy speaking Russian.
It's Russian. Okay.
Yeah.
So, is this? Yeah. Okay. And then he gets saved by Dean,
Mm-hmm.
who calls him Mr. Harvey. So we're back to that old gag. And
Which at this point I don't understand.
me either. Me either. It's weird.
Yeah, but like what? Huh? Like, why is he Mr. Harvey? And I mean, I understand that's his like alias as the international assassin, but like, why aren't we past that now?
Right. Yeah. They wanted that to carry over for some reason. I mean, it's a shitty alias. It's weird. I don't get it. So, right. So Dean saves him and reminds him not to look in a reflective surface.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly that's how they found him. I don't quite understand that, just for the record.
You don't understand that's how they found them?
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. I think that's what he's saying in the context of this setup here, but I don't think that's actually a true thing that happened.
Okay, fair enough. Cause yeah, the way we see it working, it just doesn't seem like that would help.
Mm-hmm.
And why? Well, okay, whatever. I feel like speculating about some of this stuff is just even ridiculous because it's like, I mean,
Yeah, it's all metaphorical in a way that it doesn't seem to matter.
exactly. Yeah. So it's just like going into the weeds of like, why does this guy want to kill him exactly? How do they find him? It's sort of like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not clear that there's really anything going on there besides just setting the atmosphere. Okay, so then Dean informs Kevin that in under 2 hours the president is going to start a nuclear war, and he had to stop him by assassinating the president.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea. But but Kevin, he's got his mission, so he's like, okay, I gotta talk to Christopher Sunday. Turns out he's the Prime Minister of Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And that access can only be granted by the boss. And so then Dean gives him this earpiece to allow him to talk to the boss.
Mm-hmm.
And the boss is, David Burton. I mean, can we call him David Burton now?
Yeah.
The guy, that he saw before. And they do a lot of cutaways to make clear that he remembers him. I guess from the voice, maybe it's not enough.
Yeah.
Because we only get his voice in the episode. We never actually see him in person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so then he asks if Kevin remembers what he whispered in his ear on the bridge, and I'm like, what?
Yep.
I couldn't believe that they actually went back to that. But on the other hand, you know, like you said, we discussed that in the previous episode. Like, are they gonna? Because if they were ever gonna do it, this was the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, indeed, we do get to find out what he said. And as we said earlier, he said Kevin was the most powerful man in the world.
Yikes.
So that's that's you're right. You know, I think so then he tells him to look in the mirror, and it transitions. So I think I have to say here that I you know, so I've only seen the episode once,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I didn't fully process what that meant. Um, the most powerful man in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think the key thing that I didn't think through is the fact that he was told that, you know, in the middle of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at this point that means like 3 years ago.
Yep.
And I think that is significant because I just sort of took it as like he found out just now, like I did.
Yeah. Or he's like just remembering and he didn't really remember it this whole time, or he wasn't operating with that knowledge. It was something he kind of forgot.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was sort of taking it that way. It's like it's about the now. It's about, you know, the the point we're making in this episode. And yeah, the fact that must have had some influence on the way he was behaving after that point, you know, is a good, that's a good thing to point out. And I think I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, and like I said, it's almost the most dangerous thing you could tell someone. You know, and especially that situation where he's trying to kill someone, and he's, you know, I guess the other question it raises is it specifically, and this is what I think is he's just talking about the world Kevin created, not the real world.
Yeah,
but
I think that's how it seems. Definitely.
Those two things could be related. You know, if it's, well, listen, Kevin, because you have the power to create your own reality when you die, that makes you the most powerful man in the world, in the real, you know, because you have.
If they want to go like
unique,
full Matrix,
yeah, this unique
his
power.
Powers in his own world give him powers in the real world somehow.
Yes.
Matrix
Reloaded. Thank you.
Spoiler alert. I remember that blowing my mind. There's two matrices. Can you say matrices in that context? Anyway, like it was like, no, the whole thing's a matrix, man. It's like it wasn't that, but
yeah, it's it's more complicated than that.
More and less.
More and less. Mostly more. Yeah, so anyway, I thought that, you know, the fact that they brought this up is really crazy. The fact that it was a secret to begin with is crazy.
Yeah, it's an interesting move, definitely.
And again, it goes back to why does David Burton know this or say this? And it actually, you know, was contrary to how he was on the boat with Matt, right? Like, if he's going around saying he's God, then why in Kevin's world is he saying that Kevin is the most important or the most powerful man?
Yeah, because, like, I mean, like you said, the script with Alad Muhammad, I mean, it seems like they're making that comparison. Certainly he's providing this somewhat omniscient guidance sort of role. But then he shrugs off the idea that he's God. I mean, when they specifically address it in a way later. And also, like you're saying, I mean, if Kevin's the most powerful man in the world, then it can't be him.
So let's overanalyze this. Maybe God is the we'll say person, but person that tells you what to do, gives you guidance, maybe that's why he's God in Kevin's world, or on the show in general, sort of. Like he's fulfilling
Right.
this like metaphorical role of God by telling Kevin what to do and giving him guidance. Um, Maybe that's what I mean. Like in terms of why are they saying this guy is God when he's clearly not the real God?
Right.
Maybe that's what they're going for. Is he's fulfilling the role of God
Mm-hmm.
by giving Kevin the answers.
Right.
And I think the thing at the end, I think it's like the numbers on Lost. I think it's where the final answer to this thing that was seemingly supernatural is very mundane and devoid of supernaturality. And that's the same thing here, where he's like, "Oh no, the God thing was just a pickup line." So he completely is like,
Yeah.
releasing all claims to godhood in that one sentence, which is
Yeah.
baffling. So maybe it's like the numbers on Lost, where, that's the answer, and that's why it's disappointing because it was never, pointing to begin with. Can you say that? It was never appointing. I don't know.
Appointing.
Yeah. So maybe that's what they're going for, that kind of thing,
Right.
where he was never, that's proven that it was just a lie.
Right. 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 Yeah, that's interesting. I guess because the connection is so tenuous, I really wasn't sure. I was focused on how does Kevin even know that that's a thing. That I didn't really think through. Well, if we're
How
gonna
does
accept that this
Wait?
is
How does he know what's a thing?
the idea that this guy, like, maybe might think he's God.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I know he says that line, but he never directly said to Kevin, that he was God, like
Mm-hmm.
like he was doing in the real world.
Yeah.
And Kevin doesn't know that he was doing that in the real world.
Yep.
So, I guess I was focused on that. If we're gonna accept that that the David Burton we're seeing here is in some sense like a reflection of the true David Burton, then I think that is actually a reasonable answer. Because I feel like, in a way, like the way episode 5 wrapped up with him, it almost, implied that already.
Yeah, and maybe that's the idea, is that he, in life, in the real world, David Burton was out there playing God, and in Kevin's world, he's there playing God, but at the end of the day, he's not really God.
He's just playing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's just playing.
Yeah.
Which calls into question if Kevin is the most powerful man in the world or not.
Indeed.
If a fake God tells you you're powerful, are you really powerful?
does that count?
Oh man, does that tree make a sound, right?
Exactly.
By the way, the hotel is named the Kilo Hotel.
The Kilo?
Mm-hmm. Kilo,
Okay.
Kilo, which I don't know why it's named that. That's all I
Like the
got.
1,000 Hotel?
Mm-hmm. 1,000, or I think that's is Kilo, the military. Yeah, that's the that stands
Kilo
for
isn't
K.
1,000. Is it?
It better be.
Okay. Okay. It's,
Yeah.
okay.
It better.
is.
Yeah, it is. 10 to the 3.
Milla is 1,000th. I guess.
That is, yes.
Not 1,000, 1,000th.
Yep, the other way.
Okay, that's why I got confused.
10 to the negative 3, probably.
10 to the negative 3, yeah. Exponents, kids.
Kilo is from the Greek, meaning literally 1,000.
Oh, okay, well, there you go. Greek, of course, it's Greek.
Of
see?
course, it's Greek.
That's why I didn't get it, because I'm all about the Latin.
It's Greek to you?
It's
Greek is Greek to you?
Exactly.
Yikes. I feel like that should have been in a Shakespeare play. Greek, it's Greek to me.
Yeah, it probably is.
Did they ever get that meta?
I wouldn't be
Probably.
surprised. There's some meta.
There's some
There's some
meta.
meta. I'm gonna call some of that stuff meta. Yeah, definitely,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. I mean, talking to the audience already is verging on meta.
Yeah. You're calling into question what you're watching and.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Having plays produced within the play, like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
meta. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are limits. You know, it was the 1600s, but
All the actors were men. Come on, cut them some
it
slack.
can't literally be postmodern.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah, there was definitely a sense of, you know, the awareness of the fictional construct
Mm-hmm.
within the stuff itself. Um, if that's, you know, if that counts as meta.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
So I put Kilo Hotel in the old anagram machine
Oh no!
you know they like their anagrams.
Pull up your anagram
And I was just like,
machine.
why would you name it Kilo unless it meant
Oh
something?
god,
So here's
what
something
does it
that
mean?
I know. Here's something that stood out very
I'm
easily.
scared.
Is he kill two? Like TOO
Okay.
also.
He killed two. Okay.
He killed two. What else? Let's see. Um, mm, mm, yeah, a lot of these are nonsensical.
Yeah. Yeah, the Hoff's Drawler is a
Mm-hmm.
classic one.
He killed two is the most, the one that connects the most. Let O Kilo. Toho kill. Ol hot ilk.
Okay.
Yeah, and the rest are just hell I took.
Hell I took.
Mm-hmm.
Hell I took.
Yeah. He lit look.
He lit look.
Yeah. Anyway, nothing too obvious there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one though. Whenever it sounds weird, it does seem like a good idea to do that. What was the one that was Purgatory?
Wasn't that the bad twin thing?
Oh, Gary
Uh,
Troop.
Gary Troop. Yeah, there it
Yeah,
is.
right. Good. Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one.
Which that's their fault for making people think they were dead the whole time.
Classic trolling. Yeah.
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 Something else I want to mention about this scene. Let's see. Um. Yeah, and I guess Dean is here because Dean's dead. That's the idea.
Right. That's what I assumed. It was a way to bring him back.
Oh, I wanted to talk about the passage he read from the book from the typewriter.
Oh yeah, sure.
It seemed fairly related to Kevin and Nora. It said he stood on the bow of the Merciful, I guess the name of the ship, the water endlessly stretching to the infinite horizon as he contemplated the impossible distance between them, but he would not stop until he found her. Sounds like the end of the show to me. So I wonder if we'll see something like that happen. The Merciful. I mean, are they gonna get on a boat?
Could be. Boats are, you know, definitely in play.
Mm-hmm.
I would say. Um, yeah, that's interesting. But that's different from the part at the end that he reads later, right?
Is it?
Or is it not? It's not.
I don't know. What does he say later? I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that it was different. God, why is it
Well,
different?
is it not different? Sorry, it might not be different. That's not what I remembered.
Okay. What do you remember?
Well, see, now you're asking me.
I'm trying to find it here. Let's see. Oh yeah, it is different. It said,
I thought it was different.
oh, because this says just read the last page, ending's better. So that's probably why it's different.
Right.
Yeah, this says the port was alive with strange faces. This sounds like the end too. Like Kevin shows up in the other world. It was dawn by the time he found an old salt willing to part with the vessel for what bullion he had left, a cutter with a Bermuda rig called the Merciful, its sails ragged and ripped, its compass cracked, its rotten hull just barely able to cut the breakers. But it would be enough to make his escape. It wasn't for another hour when he was a mile from the docks that his thoughts turned back to her. He imagined her alone. Yeah. Does it keep going? Is this more of it?
It keeps going, doesn't it?
Oh, geez, it keeps going. By now, she would have searched the house and found it empty. She had suspected it all along, and now she knew he was a coward dressed in the uniform of a brave man. Oh, yeah, I remember all this. Brave enough to cross two oceans and the continent to
Cut
find
to
her
Kevin in the uniform.
Yeah, to fight countless enemies, and yet in the end, he was terrified. He was terrified of her to lie beside her, to be comforted by hers. He wept to show her he was small, and her to know that. And touch his cheek and whisper words softly into his ear. All that was a nightmare, and he knew. All he knew to do was run. There's still some more. Yep. He took a deep breath there, tasting the salt in his tongue, and closed his eyes, leaning into the spray as the Merciful picked up speed and sailed for the horizon. He was alone, and all was well. Yeah, this seems like the end of his story is they're alone from each other.
But is that the way it's gonna end, or is that the way it could have ended?
That's the way he wants it. Yeah, that's the way he wants it to end in this world, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it seems like the first page is like, he's gonna go after her.
Yeah.
But then, like, once the boat picks up steam and he's actually going towards her, he has this vision or imagining that she was alone and he was alone.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, as much as I expected it to be bittersweet, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just completely, they just are ending up alone. I mean, is that what's best for them, to be alone? Is that the idea? Should they just be alone?
They might say that. It's weird that I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I should know by now. The series is almost over. Why is it not clear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only thing this passage doesn't do, it seems to describe Kevin, but it doesn't say why. I still don't know why. Is this something that happened because of the departure? Was he like this before the departure? Is he broken as a person? I think
he was like that before the departure.
Well, he definitely wanted to leave, right? They made that clear. He wanted to leave his family. But was it this deep and permanent? Was it like what's his malfunction?
Yeah, well, I don't know what his malfunction is.
Because I don't know, I feel like for the other characters we kind of know what their deal is. Like, we know what Nora's malfunction is, right? Like, losing her kid, her family, right? I mean...
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. There have been some extra other things along the way, but...
It's weird to have to hammer home, like, a character's flaw, but not really discuss why. Maybe the last episode will be why. Like, did his his mother, something with his mom, or yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, if they're gonna say now's the time, guys. One episode left. Now or never, if you want us
Mm-hmm.
to know, or just wonder forever.
Yeah. All right. You want to go to the next part?
Yeah, so he gets transported when he looks into the mirror. He gets transported into the body of the president.
What?
Ooh, what? It's still Kevin, but he has a beard. The assassin Kevin doesn't have a beard, just for the
Mm-hmm.
record.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so President Kevin is wearing a white suit, and there's a whole crowd, and they're all in white too. And I guess he's part of the Guilty Remnant Party.
Yeah. The GRP.
Slightly reading between the lines, and let's see. He introduces a finalist in a contest to write an essay about the evils of marriage. Um, and uh, he sees that it's Grace's son, Liam, with no shoes.
None of the kids have shoes.
They didn't bring their shoes to the. It's like Kevin
You
didn't.
don't
Kevin
get shoes.
Kevin didn't. He has. Lots of people have shoes. Just because they didn't have shoes.
Well, here's the thing. Kevin, even though he's wearing clothes when he transitions, he shows up naked all the time.
Oh, that's true.
So take that as you will. But I think he created this world, and he knows the kids don't have shoes, so that's why they're created without shoes.
That's why they don't have shoes. Yeah, because
Mhm.
it's just like surely they could have shoes, right? If
Which begs the question, since we were saying he's got this source code like power where his reality can tap into the real truth of other realities or something, maybe he could have answered the question of where the shoes went. if he had made Liam told him or something, like
right,
maybe he could have divined it somehow.
right, right. So okay, so he sees who this is, and uh, he finally asks about the shoes. Oh, one quick thing I wanted to mention. He talks about like uh, we used to smoke cigarettes and not talk, but then we realized that was stupid.
Mm-hmm. It's
Just
great.
amused by such a casual
It's
dismissal
if
of a huge thing from.
it's completely in line with what I've come to expect from the Guilty Remnant. What we saw with Lori's beat in the last episode in Certified. When she decides to join the Guilty Remnant, and like they don't have any truths. They don't have
Right,
anything. They just have purpose. And those purpose are various traditions and things that they do, their lifestyle, but that's it, and yeah,
right.
there's no like ultimate reason that it really makes sense. So it's interesting, yeah, for them to just say we just stopped all that. And of course it's weird because it's Kevin saying that and he never bought into their shit.
Right,
Yet he's in the body of a guy who's their leader, yet I
right,
guess he's led them to what the real problems are, which is marriage and stuff. And he's and
right,
he's and he's led them away from the stupid stuff like not talking and
right,
and smoking. But wearing
right.
white is still stylish. So,
Yeah, that never went away.
mm-mm.
That's still a cool thing. Um, so he does ask about the shoes. So, so, so what exactly is the answer about the shoes?
The answer is why does it matter?
Why does it matter?
Yeah, it's the answer is let the mystery be. I
Let the
really think
mystery
the
be.
show just slaps us in the face and tells us why were we even invested in that mystery to begin with? Like, what's it gonna solve for Grace? What's it gonna solve for us to know where the shoes are? How is that even closure for her? Which is something we talked about before. It's a strange thing anyway. That's really all. She's not like John, where she wants to convey a message of love to the kids, or I'm
Right.
sorry that I didn't find you. I'm sorry you died alone, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
It's that they're it's this why does it matter? Which from a dead person's perspective, I understand. Like, the idea that they're kind of past that. But yeah, in terms of like the writers talking to the audience, I just laughed out loud when I heard him say that. Like all this build up, and the kids are actually there, and they're all there, and they're no shoes on. It's perfectly set up to answer this question.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "But why does it matter?"
Right.
And then he's
Right.
like, "Someone in your family wants to know." And he said, "But you said there is no family." And then he's
Right.
just like, "Oh crap! Well, shit."
And then he gets stuck on that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I guess like for me, like fair enough that it doesn't matter. I'll admit it. You know, the only reason why I was invested in this is because I thought it could give some objectivity. Like if he could
Mm-hmm.
get the true information, then it would seem like
Yeah.
maybe.
But why does that matter?
Well, I don't know, cause like it's interesting. It's interesting to me to know like what the status of this part. I mean, it's a big part of the story,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd like to know how to think about it. You
But
know,
why does
should
that
I?
matter?
God damn it! You can keep doing that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I wanted to know about the shoes so I could figure out if this world was real or not. Why does that matter?
Right.
It's like, damn it.
I know. Yeah. It's frustrating, but it's just like I guess I wish I knew what the story was, and I guess the story is like what it is, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
I can take that the way I want to take it. Um, but like it provided an opportunity for something very concrete, and then took it away from me.
Yeah, I'm
So
trying to think about it structurally how these three things played out. And because one is the thing with the kids in the shoes played out is to say you're you know the whole question is faulty, right? That was the answer there. Is there's a problem with your question, not like, oh, here's the answer. It's like your question's not even valid.
right,
And I think with Christopher Sunday, it was not necessarily that your question is invalid. It's a little bit of that, but it was more that your reason for asking the question was not valid. Small difference there. And with Evie, it was Evie's a weird case because he does tell her, but she
yeah.
doesn't get it.
That's what we're getting into next.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, so Evie kind of storms in with a bullhorn, and she's singing and I guess like protesting or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the Secret Service, led by the other Kevin, um, the Kevin that Grace killed, who's like sitting under the church now. Um,
The
uh,
the Australian cop Kevin.
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They escort the president, meaning Kevin, away, and he insists on Evie coming with him. Obviously he wants to try to deliver that message. Um, uh, and let's see, he finds out that he's being taken to a secure location where only his unique biometrics will allow him to enter, and from there he can launch his attack against the Ukrainian separatists who commandeered a nuclear submarine. So there's that. Um,
Mm-hmm. Another nuclear sub.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That definitely seemed like it was ripped from the headlines. Um, that's how he writes his fantasy worlds. Um, so let's see. In the car, Kevin asked Evie if she knew he wasn't really the president, and she said, "Yeah." So like, oh, good, good, good. Like you're not crazy like all these other people,
Mm-hmm.
because at a lot of points, it really does seem like Kevin's the only one that realizes that this is like some kind of fantasy world.
Yeah.
The other people seem to just kind of play along with it. I don't know. Maybe Patty had some awareness, but
She's definitely seemed like she did.
yeah,
But it
yeah,
could be that she was able to have that awareness because she left this world and he brought her back to it. So
Right.
she was somehow different than the other people who were still just kind of stuck there.
Right.
Um,
In the previous trip, Virgil, Virgil seemed to get it, um, and also Neil seemed to get it.
mm-hmm.
Um, and obviously, like David Burton sort of gets it,
Yeah.
but but yeah, most of the characters just play along. So anyway, it's like you think maybe there's a chance this will work. The shoes didn't work out, but the heartfelt message, maybe that'll
Mm-hmm.
work.
Mm-hmm.
So he delivers the message. John wants you to know you're loved, and then she's like, "What?" She gets angry. My parents and brother were killed in a drone strike that you ordered, and like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
um. And then she clarifies that Kevin's not the president, but a puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, he starts like spewing water, and that means he's getting pulled out of his crazy world.
Yeah, so quite a bit to talk about here.
Yeah.
Geez, so many things. Yeah, so starting at the top here. So Evie is, she's an anti-guilty remnant person seemingly in this
Mm-hmm.
world. Everyone's in white. She's wearing colors, and
Right.
she's singing a song. And "Love Will Keep Us Together," I think, is the name of that
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
So it's all about love, and I guess she's, the anti-family message now.
Right. Right.
Pro-family, if you will. And I took this to mean that in a way that Evie in any reality is just a contrarian. Like she just has this kind of spirit where she just has to go against the grain, um, where just she's just not into the status quo.
If her whole family was guilty remnants, she would have rebelled against
she
that.
would have rebelled against that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I
that's how
think
it
you're
came
right.
across to me. Like, if she's showing up here, the opposite of everybody, it's like, okay, I think that's kind of the point they're making was that's just who she is, and that's
Right.
true to life. There's people who are like that.
Right.
You need those people. So the other part, yeah, the unique biometrics we're gonna get to. But they make
Indeed.
the joke about, the door can only be unlocked by you unless you have an identical twin brother, which would be ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when you know it's gonna happen.
Yep. And the fact that they're brothers too is really strange. That you know what I mean? Like it's just weird that because there's two of them that. How are they related? Well, they're brothers. Like that's how we'll solve it. He's not his clone, or
Right.
they're not just two people who look alike. But they're actually like twin brothers. It's a weird specification, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, does this have anything to do with the question about the twin babies and one killing one to save the
Oh
world?
man, I forgot about that. Well, going back to the theory that like maybe the way Nora will get to use the machine is she'll come up with the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll finally find out whatever they wanted to hear for that question. That's interesting. I forgot that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, it is a twin thing, but it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with the cancer question.
It's twin siblings.
I mean, he does have to kill one of them.
There is a thing about killing one of them.
He does have to kill one of them to save, in a sense,
mm-hmm.
not the world so much as destroy the world, but himself, I guess.
But it's in a sense what the people want. That's the other thing that they
Right.
said. They made it where he wasn't just a mass murderer, killing people in a nuclear war. It was like, no, this is what the people like elected you for. Like they knew that, well, that's what they want. That's what they want is an end to this existence, and that's what they elected you for.
Right.
And so in a way, he's giving them what they want.
Right.
Assisted suicide versus murder, I guess.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I found that to be interesting. But yeah, I don't know, like, because I'm trying to think what would the answer be to that twin baby question based on what we saw here. And I think it's Nora's answer, which is you kill the twin, right? You kill the one, so the other one cures cancer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Which they didn't like that one.
Maybe the answer is like you ask the baby what they want or something. Like you know what I mean? Like maybe the answer is something like that. Like
right.
You.
What do you want, baby?
Yeah, I don't know. Or like let the babies decide. Or I don't know. Maybe something weird like that, where whatever choice you make is the wrong choice.
Right.
Because you have to take into account the wishes of the babies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sounds ridiculous when you say it that way, but. Sure.
I love the whole thing about DEFCON 2. Is it worse or not than DEFCON 3? That's a whole trope.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which one's worse? And then, yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, I didn't really buy the whole thing when he was like, "Do you know who I am?" And she's like, "Yes." "Do you know I'm not the president?" "I sure do." I didn't really believe that she knew what was going on.
Yeah.
I was like, no, there's a reason she's saying that.
Right.
But I was disappointed that she didn't snap out of it and she didn't really know what was happening, and that being told you're dead in this world isn't enough to wake you out of the whatever. Right. So yeah, what does that mean? Is she dead? Are you dead if you're right there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is dead relative?
I hope not.
Dead just means you're not in this world. It doesn't mean you're not in another world, right?
Yeah. I guess. Yes. That seems true. Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe there is no death. There's only the next frontier.
But yeah, I guess, this one was the most, had the most sort of sentimental quality of the missions that he was on. And so yeah, it was too, I feel like, I guess like the thing that really gets me about this is that like, not only is it kind of a failure, but he kind of implies, he kind of says to John that he did give her the message. It's not like he's lying.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't really explain that she didn't really understand it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he's just like, whatever, give him some closure.
The whole point was he was trying to give closure to all these people, right?
Yeah.
So, and he tells Christopher Sunday, he didn't really buy the mission. He just wanted something. He would have taken whatever that guy gave him and gave it to his dad,
Right.
Just so his dad could have some closure.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's right. I thought it was interesting that Evie mentions that her family was killed in a drone strike, which is the way she was killed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
I thought that was interesting.
I thought the same thing. Yeah. And why is he a puppet?
Well, he's a puppet. I thought that was funny that they said that. He is literally a puppet because he's got somebody in his ear telling him what to do. And he's got other people around him telling him what to do. And that's kind of the battle he goes through in the episode, right? Is like setting his own path and doing what he wants to do and not just kind of listening to other people. He takes the thing out of his ear later,
right.
So he doesn't have to listen to David Burton anymore. So I think that's the other meaning of that phrase when she says you're a puppet is calling back to this idea that he's just doing what people tell him to do.
Right. I was also thinking that kind of extends to the the real world story, like
Mm,
that he's just going in here to like do these things for other people.
exactly. Yeah.
You know. Um. So you ready to go back,
Um.
or do you have more about this bit here?
Yeah, there's a thing where she says the speech you just gave, it didn't sound like you believed a single word you were saying. Part of that is he had just zapped into that body, so he wasn't
Right.
reading it right. But I wonder if if they're trying to tell
He's
us
also not necessarily used to
subtextually.
giving speeches from teleprompters. It's kind of a skill. It's not that easy.
Thank you, Mr. Practicality. Uh,
Sorry, just had to throw that in.
um,
I know newscasters like have to kind of learn how to do that.
yeah.
You know.
But I was thinking subtextually, maybe they're saying that whole diatribe about marriage being horrible is not really what he believes.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I do think that's. I do think that's what they want us to think. Absolutely.
But do you think that's true?
I don't know if it's true. But
Why don't we know? Why don't we know if that's true?
well, I mean, I feel like he hasn't taken a strong stance on marriage. I don't know where he stands on marriage.
Does cheating on his wife not be? Is that not a strong stance?
Well, I mean, was it about marriage or was it just about, his specific situation? You know what I mean? I mean, when you talk about such a big concept, I mean, just because your marriage isn't working, does that mean that the entire concept of marriage is.
Well, clearly it's subjective, right? I mean, he's you're not going to come to the conclusion marriage is horrible. I think unless you had a bad marriage.
Well, fair enough, but I would also think that one bad marriage alone would not, necessarily.
Well, yeah. Presumably, he's also talking about his relationship with Nora, and not that they were married, but
Right.
That didn't work out necessarily, at least as far as we've seen.
Yeah, yeah. I guess John and Lori's marriage had a kind of a rocky ending, if that was the ending.
Mm-hmm.
And then I poisoned him and drowned myself.
Yeah, well, no need for divorce papers.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right that like having a bad marriage would probably lend him. It would probably give him, you know, ideas along those lines. So maybe he does think that.
And I think the idea of marriage being the thing that trapped him, I think that's in there too. Like that's part of the confining thing is the
Right.
legal and sort of moral bond or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then she just reiterates, you just do what they tell you to do. That's not true. Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. You ready to go to the next part?
Yeah, so we go back to the real world. He tells Grace that her kids don't know what they did with their shoes. Sorry.
Oh, Grace.
Tough luck, Grace.
Yeah.
Sorry you committed a murder for this.
Right? Like, isn't that crazy to be that close to something supernatural and it just to not even work out?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like she really committed a lot.
You mean like murder?
This. Yeah. I feel like Kevin Sr. went pretty far, but of the three, I feel like she's kind of taken it the furthest of trying to reach this answer with a Kevin. I mean, I guess that was the goal from the beginning. No, go ahead.
I'm in the most minor way possible. I'm upset that the other women of the horsewomen of the apocalypse have not shown their faces since we saw them, and then also that like the people who are working in the boat we haven't seen since. I'm just curious where all these people went that were in Grace's life before our main character showed up.
Right. Yeah, they're all
You
just
know,
gone.
and did she not
Yeah.
tell them, "Hey, there's a flood coming"? You know,
Right.
like
Right.
I'm with the Magic Kevin, and now, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a little. The whole setup is a little weird now because I thought all those women had a stake in what was going on,
Right.
but clearly they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a bit. It's a little sloppy. It's sort of like that was just set up to get us here, and really we just wanted Grace as a member of the team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not to actually like take seriously all of the aspects of her life that they portrayed before this.
Yeah.
And you know, like with Evie, you know, when she left with the other two girls, and you know, I mean, they didn't spend a lot of time on their stories, but they did continue to participate, you know, in that story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, up to the end. So yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, the as far as the other women, I mean, the idea seems to be that they weren't as committed as Grace was. So like, after the murder,
they're like, they're
we're
like,
done.
I know where my kids' shoes are. Bye. You
Yeah.
just-
Yeah. Which, like, you know, I mean, I kind of get that. Like, I guess that makes more sense to me than the boat builders not showing up again.
Why wouldn't we get a line or something of like, or like Kevin Senior says, "Hey, where are those women at?" Or
I thought she said she agreed to take responsibility.
Yeah, but does that did, does that mean that is that enough to sum up the whole point of those other women being there? Like, okay, great, you're gonna take responsibility, but if Grace is still plugged into seeing this thing through, why aren't they? Like, I guess the line I want is they were scared off by the fact they killed this guy. You know.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was the implication.
It might be the implication, but it just didn't go far enough.
It wasn't an explication.
It wasn't an explication. Yes.
To go Latin.
Uh-huh.
Which always helps, I would say.
This is clearly a Latin podcast in the most minor way possible. We'll just say Latin words every now
Speaking
and
of Latin, minor.
Oh, God. It's everywhere.
It really is. You can't escape it. Literally.
So, real quick, Evie is wearing a shirt that says I remember
Mm-hmm.
in Kevin's world. What does she remember? She doesn't remember her life, but she's remembering the departure.
Well, that's weird because that seems more like the Guilty Remnant. I would think.
Yeah.
Maybe her family being killed.
Okay. I mean, if they are Guilty Remnant, then this is a world where there was a departure, which begs the question: why would Kevin imagine a world where there's a departure?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, besides.
I mean, and maybe he's Guilty Remnant where they forget. Their whole thing is like forget the departure happened.
They're like the opposite Guilty Remnant. I mean, not really.
Where it's like
they have
it's like
some things in common.
Yeah, there's no family. Like the departure told us there's no family because
maybe the idea is that like here's the part of the Guilty Remnant that I can like get behind on some level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like because you know I clearly want to run away from my family at various moments.
Yeah.
Like that's the part that maybe resonates on some level. The other stuff is like is stupid, as he said.
Yeah, like they don't need to be living. Like he doesn't think they need to be living reminders.
Right. Oh, they don't even. I don't think they talk about the departure. I don't think it's actually mentioned. It's just it's sort of implied, I guess, because the only reason the Guilty Remnant exists is because of the departure. But maybe in this universe that's not true. I don't know why they would exist otherwise, but
Actually, no. Doesn't Patty say later that she talks about the depart? That doesn't she say it's the 7th anniversary of the departure?
Oh, does she say that?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're probably right.
yeah. I
That
think
sounds
I think
right.
she says it is the 7th anniversary of the
Yeah.
departure.
Okay. So there's a departure.
So it is a departure. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, it's just weird he would have think of a departure world.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. Beyond the fact that that's what happened in his own world. I don't know. I don't know why he would put that in there. I mean, it certainly provides the context for the guilty remnant.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was like, like the
Maybe.
way they like to write the leftovers. Like, well, I want the guilty remnant party, so
Yeah.
gotta
Maybe
have
it
a
wasn't even
departure.
a departure world before this time he came
Exactly.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, because it wasn't clear that there was any of this stuff. Even though I think they did have Patty as a presidential candidate or something in the first
Yeah.
International Assassin, right?
I thought she was a congresswoman, or was she? Was she president?
I thought she was a candidate. I didn't think she was necessarily president.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe. Yeah,
I
that
thought
makes
they were saying
sense.
she was running a campaign or something like that.
Yeah. I couldn't. I don't remember the. I thought it was that she was a congresswoman, but president makes more
She might have
sense.
been a congresswoman running for president.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
It's
Okay. There we
possible it's
go.
both.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
It's one of those both ands.
one of those both ends. But then it turned out it was like a decoy, someone else
Mm-hmm.
that looked like her. That was some weird shit in that one.
Ha.
Not that like this is normal, but
Mm-hmm.
it's where it was like, what? And I guess they addressed that issue in a small way in this episode. The idea of like imitating someone else.
Yep. Yeah, they do.
Um, okay, so just to pick up there, because we got off on that thing about Evie. Oh right, so he tells John he gave Evie the message. Great. Okay, move on from there. No more questions, please. He asked why they pulled him out of the pond. He didn't have Christopher Sunday's song yet. And why did they pull him out of the pond? I guess it was raining or something. Uh,
Yeah, he said the pond overflowed
the pond. Oh right, the pond overflowed. Yeah. There you go.
because
There
of
you
the
go.
flood.
Because of the flood. Because it's flooding.
Because of
Right.
flooding.
Right. It's a good coincidental sort of flood.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad.
Can I bring up something I just thought about?
Sure.
Matt and Nora went off on their adventure, and Kevin and these guys are here. I guess the guy who flew them there in the cargo plane is just hanging out in Tasmania.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is
Waiting.
happening?
Yeah.
Because like Matt was the whole point was they were gonna get him and come back in time
Go to
to
Miracle.
be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for this day. So that I just realized that guy's just sitting there.
Yeah,
I
it'd be
wonder if
nice
they'll-
if he could like call him or something.
Yeah, maybe they'll say Matt called him and
Yeah.
told him to go home or something.
Yeah. Because that's definitely a loose end. It's a good point.
Yeah, it just dawned on me. Okay.
So it's I guess Kevin's got to go up to the bathtub. Because drowning is just the way we do this now.
It's just the way it works.
It's weird how there's like no questioning about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no discussion of like how should we do this? It's like Grace did it this way, so we're gonna do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they go up to the bathtub. Kevin Senior says, "If I could do this instead of you, I would."
Yet the book should have been about me, huh? How does that work?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, come on, Kevin Senior.
And it's like, how does he know he can't do it?
It's a good point. It's a good point. I don't think he does. I'm just gonna say it.
Mm-hmm.
Um. But it has to be Kevin, of course. So he goes back. He goes back to the crazy world, and to gain entrance to this secure location where he's going to be um, sort of bunkered in, I guess. He has to undergo a facial scan and then a penis scan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Typical,
It's just a thing that happens.
It's a normal security procedure.
Yeah, so basically, like someone could like imitate or reconstruct somehow his face, but they wouldn't go to that length to
Ding,
no
ding,
pun
ding.
intended.
Yeah.
To fabricate his penis somehow. So so he passes the face scan and the penis scan, and now that's what's happening. And now he has to answer some trivia questions. So let's talk about childhood pet. Didn't have one. Nice try. Can't get me with that one. His favorite movie, The Godfather. Wait for it, Part 2.
There we go.
Weird side note. A little strange to have Godfather reference in two things in a row.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was gonna bring that up too. We were just doing our Twin Peaks podcast, and there was a scene that was presumably a reference to The Godfather. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I want to point out something I found out about since then. Just an extra thing. Sorry, this is something I should probably say on the Twin Peaks podcast, but that scene with Michael Cera not only
spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Sorry. Not only references The Godfather, but it also, if you look at his costume, it's exactly almost the costume worn by Marlon Brando in the movie The Wild One.
I caught that, and I meant to say that he looks like Marlon Brando in those old movies.
Yeah,
I did catch that, but I didn't. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, if you pull up The Wild One and you look at his costume, it's like, oh, that's exactly what he was wearing.
Yeah, that's why it makes him seem so artificial, because he seems like he's playing a costume, playing a character.
Yeah. I think maybe he's even supposed to be doing a Marlon Brando like impression.
I guess that's
part of the delivery.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
but why is he Marlon Brando? Because he has Brando's birthday.
He has Brando's birthday.
They gave him his middle name as
He's
Brando.
Got the name, so he's got to be Brando. But he doesn't have the
first name.
Well,
it's just like, why is that a thing?
I totally agree. I was like, I can't believe they took that so far. That idea.
Yeah, they're doing a Godfather reference with Marlon Brando. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. It's just really. Anyway, save it for the Twin Peaks podcast.
All right, well, put that on the Twin Peaks podcast.
Yeah. I just the Godfather thing. It was like, because it's clearly a coincidence. I mean, there's no way they knew when they filmed this that there. I don't think anyone knew there was going to be like a really specific Godfather reference in Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have never called that, for example. Like, why would they do that? That sounds stupid. Like, what? Okay. So, anyway, then, finally, the third question. This is the hard one. Who's your Secretary of Defense? You ready for this one? Patty Levin?
I'll just say the only name I can think of.
Why not? And it turns out he's right. Is he right because he was right?
He's right because
Or
he couldn't have gotten those answers wrong.
that's the question, right?
Yeah,
Is there a way?
I don't think he could have gotten those questions wrong. And even the way the guy was like checking the answers seemed like, yeah, whatever, like, of course you're passing these. So yeah, I think whatever he said was the right answer. Yeah, I
Okay.
think whatever he said was the right answer. She seems to say later that you summoned me. She says
She
summoned.
does
They
say
use the
that,
actual
yeah.
word.
Yeah.
You summoned me. So I think the idea is whatever was going to play out in this bunker was going to play out with another person. And they were like, okay, well, who do you want to be the person that, you have this scene with?
Right.
And he
But there
says
was a
Patty.
logic to it, since it's a guilty remnant party.
Mm-hmm.
You know, beyond like the history and all the other reasons.
Yeah, because I guess he could have said Meg.
Yeah, and
You know.
Meg shows up.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly.
Why didn't he say Christopher Sunday? The Prime Minister of Australia is my Secretary of Defense. He's got 2 jobs.
I don't. Is that allowed?
Yeah, I don't know. That would have never happened.
That's...
Honestly, I think it's just a reason for us to have Patty back, and for them to give us a little mythology about this idea of being summoned, and she came to help him because he helped her, and
right.
Which I think basically puts to bed this idea that he was her most powerful adversary. Like, seems like he did her a favor. So, how are they adversaries?
Yeah. That could have just been a misinterpretation.
If she was like, "You banished me, Kelvin. When you pushed me in that well, I went to hell." And I gotta tell you, it was hot. Yeah, so it wasn't like that. So,
right.
yeah, I think that was a misinterpretation by Virgil.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
All right. Anything else in this part? Yeah, I was reading that. I think this whole sort of focus on Kevin's genitals. I think that started from the pilot. I was reading that.
Oh, really?
There's a bit of a what's the word? Kerfuffle? I don't know what the word is. There's some hullabaloo, hoopla. Yeah. Because in the first time we see Kevin, that doesn't matter. It's the first time, but in the episode, he's jogging and he's got these loose jogging pants on, and presumably not wearing any underwear, and so there's some what's the word?
Bouncage.
Bouncage. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Let's just call it that.
I'm guessing. I mean, I actually didn't know that was the thing.
Yeah. So anyway, apparently that was not lost on the audience, and so that started something that this is apparently playing up. Yeah.
Flappage.
That's that. Flappage. Yeah. Not that I wanna. There's some other word I want to use, but I can't think of it.
Okay.
We don't need any more other words. We got it.
That's enough.
Flappage. Yeah. So apparently this is some kind of.
That's the
to
reference.
That
okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
And I thought they were doing, and I think because it's his own world, it kind of makes sense in a way, like. He's in a world. He created a reality where he has a big penis or something,
right?
And I think there is something to the idea, because they, they call him the hot cop and all this stuff, and so maybe there's some idea that he's well endowed, or that goes with that idea or something.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely spend a fair amount of time admiring his physique.
Mm-hmm.
And they've commented on his appearance a few times, so it's definitely a thing in the show.
Yeah,
No
Hot Jesus or
question.
whatever.
Yeah. Hot Jesus. Yes. Exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. Where are we? What's going on?
So we go on down to the Situation Room.
Mm-hmm.
Patty smacks Kevin when he has to speak to Christopher Sunday because they got to go to DEF CON 1. They've been planning this for years. What,
Mm-hmm.
why are you wasting time? And then the vice president shows up. The vice president, it's going to be Lori, right? No. It's Meg.
Yeah, I was thinking Lori too. I
She's
was waiting for
back.
Lori to show up.
Yeah, so if Lori would also fit because, the Guilty Remnant connection.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the thing about Lori showing up is it would be confirmation, maybe, that she was dead. Which they declined to do. And
Declined.
I would say that definitely opens up the possibility that we'll see her in the last episode.
Yeah. So wait, Meg's the vice president?
Meg's the vice president.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I guess Meg was the leader of the Guilty Remnant last.
True.
Okay.
Sort of. I mean, maybe a leader of her rogue faction or something, but...
Sure.
But yeah. She reveals that the president's being conned and there's no nuclear sub. There's no threat.
Yeah, I found that to be really interesting too. Another Twin Peaks reference, and I'll try to not make this a spoiler, but just this idea of being played, being tricked. I thought that was interesting.
Right.
And then
so I guess the idea is like it's just an excuse to end the world.
I don't get it because their point is to end the world. So why is the intelligence should be true because that gives them a reason to do it, but they don't need that reason to do it. They want to do it anyway. So I'm actually confused now. I wasn't before.
Yeah, well, it's like I don't know. I mean, I guess they feel like they need a pretext to like set it in motion.
Well, okay, that's right because Meg is saying that, right? Meg is saying, "Hey, I know you want to end the world, but you know the context here is you want to end it because of this intel about the separatists in the submarine.
Yeah.
But that's a lie."
Right.
Like she's trying to tell him that that's a lie. It's not true. So don't end the world.
Right. Right.
I think that plays into him just following what people tell him to do, and he's got to make his own decision.
Yeah.
But I do find it very strange plot wise. Also, it's also a bit ripped from the headlines in a weird way because there's actually a recent news report. I guess maybe last week it was kind of big in the news that potentially James Comey back in the election when he came out to talk about Hillary Clinton's investigation, that might have been based on bogus intel from Russia that the FBI knew was bogus, but that he might have pretended to use anyway. It's something fairly convoluted like that. But anyway, I thought this was a strange reference here. Sort of that this idea of there being bogus intel and the Kremlin is involved.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is I couldn't enlighten you with the 1,000-watt bulb. It's a great line. But what if he had 2,000-watt bulbs?
Uh-oh.
Is it the wattage that matters? What does that matter?
Oh God.
You got to have some puns in a podcast,
Not
right?
a pun. Not a what pun.
Yeah, what is it better? All right. So, where did you leave off on the recap here?
Let's see. It's the middle of that scene. So Patty reminds Kevin that he was elected to, launch
Mm-hmm.
these things. They want to die.
But do they?
Well, that's what she says.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem now is they can't launch without going through the Fisher Protocol.
Oh, jeez.
Which, yeah. Ugh. So that requires that Kevin murdered the volunteer. There's a volunteer in whose chest the launch key has been planted.
Mm-hmm.
So, the volunteer is not present. So there's like no way like he can get in. So I guess that's game over.
Yeah, right? But no.
But no, it turns out the volunteer will be entering in 15 minutes because he's Kevin's twin brother.
Well, what's weird is, even if he wasn't the twin, why wouldn't they let him in the door?
Because they're on lockdown.
Oh, they're on lockdown. And so, but why would Patty trigger the lockdown before having the Fisher guy there?
It's weird. But that's part of the plan, apparently. But yeah, I agree. It doesn't really make sense.
I understand this thing about the Russian fake intel now. I think the idea is that's what they're telling everybody the reason is, but that's not the real reason. Because later she says, what did she say? Yeah, we're going to fire our nukes at the Russians and they're going to retaliate, and that's it. So that means that the Russians are in on it too. So when the Russians said, hey, that intel is bad, there's no separatist, they know that already.
Right.
But why would they confirm it? I guess they confirmed it to the vice president, not knowing that she doesn't know the plan. Guess that's the idea. It's really convoluted here.
It is. Really weird. It is. Yeah. And so
but
much of it,
like just the reason.
It's like I don't know how much any of this stuff matters. So
not at all.
That's why it's like it's weird to like spend a lot of time like trying to understand these details when it's like sort of inherently artificial.
Yeah.
Like if this were 24, I'd be all over this.
Yeah.
In terms of like, well, who wants what and what's true and like let's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, here it's just like
Yeah, it's not gonna matter.
Exactly. It's just kind of business, so we can get to the point. Okay, right. So Kevin's twin's coming. So I guess Meg's been thwarted, so she leaves. And Patty has Kevin take them down to DEFCON 1 before allowing Kevin to make his call. But turns out that when they go to DEFCON 1, they're totally locked down and the phones don't work anymore, so now he can't make his call anymore.
Uh-oh.
So Patty I tricked you one last time, Kevin.
One last trick.
Like the good old days when I sat on your keys. And when I told you them girls departed.
Oh, Kelvin.
I wish they could have a conversation about that. I guess that's never going to happen at this point, because I'm pretty sure this is the last we're going to get.
Yeah, he could have been like, why should I trust you? You told me the girls departed.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Kevin, we all departed.
Thanks, Patty. Of course you would say that. So Kevin grabs Patty's glasses and uses the reflection to flip back over to No Beard Kevin, the assassin
Kevin Harvey.
Kevin Harvey. Thank you. Is President Kevin Garvey?
I don't know.
Did they clarify that? Okay. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember that being clear.
I don't
but
think
it
they
might
ever
have been.
said his whole name.
But yeah. So he's not I guess he's not sure about sort of how to proceed, but David Burton reassures him that he's got a man on the inside. So he goes in there, and it turns out the man on the inside was Meg. And she doesn't want the end of the world because she's in love with the most wonderful man she's ever known, and his name is God.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Weird. This is a weird moment. I don't think I actually understand this beat of the story. I guess it's weird to say that. I'm not sure I understand a lot of these things, but like it's like I guess the thing about this is like it's it's Meg. It seems like a character thing, but I don't know what this even has to do with Meg at all. It's just weird to me. So then David Burton says, "Tell her I love her too." Let's see. Then Kevin finds out where the comms room is and shoots Meg and goes to make his call to Christopher Sunday. So we can finally learn that song we've all been hearing so much about.
Oh, okay. And I was glad it was like a video conference, so
Mm-hmm.
he could actually see the dance itself.
Right.
You know, like I assume there's dancing with the song.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, great! Look, they're Skyping.
Yeah. Very convenient. So he gets Christopher Sunday on, and he makes clear that there is no song to stop the rain. If you remember from before, the song he had was To Bring the Rain.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he said, like, I tried to tell him that, but he wouldn't listen. We all saw. We remember if we watched that episode. I love that they go back to that point. Because I thought that was a really interesting moment in that episode.
Which part?
Crazy white fella thinking. When he tells him that the song is supposed to bring the rain.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that there's no songs to stop the rain because we're in like a desert here.
Yeah, like using the song to stop the rain doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, interpretation, blah blah blah, whatever. I don't care. Yep.
Why should I listen to you and revere your knowledge on this subject that I came to seek your knowledge for?
Yeah, I know. What do you know about all this? like, wow. But that is his character. He's very arrogant about that stuff. Like, he's so sure that he's got the answer and just, does not want to listen to anybody else if they're going against, what he believes. So anyway, I appreciated that they actually went back to that point as the the reason why he's not going to get the song. And he asked if Kevin actually believes that his father could save the world like this, and he says no. So then why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
So we get that idea presented.
And then the alarm starts going off, which is a thing they like to do when it's time for Kevin to move.
Yep.
In this world.
Yep. So the Secret Service arrives, so he has to look into some glass. He goes back to the president, back to bearded President Kevin. He smashes Patty's glasses. And says he doesn't want to do this anymore. Like basically the farce, you know, being the
Mm-hmm.
president, the secretary,
Do you want to
this.
pause here and talk about anything? Because we've kind of gone over a lot.
Oh, sure, sure, sure. Sorry, I guess I assumed you were gonna jump in if you.
Um.
But yeah,
Yeah.
feel
Let me
free. I
see.
gave my commentary.
Yeah. There was a lot of things here. Sorry, I'm trying to go over it now. Let me see. Um. This Machiavelli line I thought was interesting. All unarmed prophets have been victorious. All armed prophets have been destroyed.
Oh yeah, so I read somewhere on the internet that actually what he said was the reverse of that.
All armed prophets have been victorious, and all unarmed prophets have been destroyed.
Yes,
Yikes!
that it was a lie, like the way he said it.
Sounds like this god is the devil.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the truth.
Yeah, maybe that's an interesting idea too, because that's actually a thing the devil would probably tell you is you're the most powerful man in the world
Mm-hmm.
and watch you destroy yourself.
Definitely.
Um,
Definitely.
because he plays tricks on you. It's the trickster. Interesting. Wow, that's crazy that he told them the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Put your faith in me, Mr. Harvey."
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, that's a good note. And this thing about, and please make sure you fucking kill the Secretary of Defense, I thought was interesting.
Oh yeah.
But okay, so yeah, Meg is in love with David Burden for no reason. That's weird. Um,
Is that really who she means?
well, David Burden says, "Tell her I love her too."
But he called it a pickup line.
Uh huh. So what are you saying?
Oh, okay.
That doesn't mean he didn't tell it to her.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like she thinks now whether she thinks he actually is God, you know, maybe she did. You know, that's kind of what he's saying. It was just a pickup line, but clearly he's telling people he's God. You know, and he takes credit for it when he says, "Tell her I love her too." Um,
See,
so I
I thought,
assume.
okay. I thought she was actually just saying God, the sort of abstract idea,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought his thing was like, a kind of a winky
I see.
commentary
Yeah, I
on,
see.
you know what I mean? Like, I didn't necessarily think that when she said his name is God, she actually
So you
meant.
think she might be thinking she's in love with the metaphorical God, not
That's what I
David Burton,
thought. That's what
and
I
he's
thought.
just
Now
yeah,
that
he's
you
just
mention
taking.
it, it brings up that possibility, and in a way, it makes more sense.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's that she met this person who said he was God, but
Yeah,
yeah, it is.
right.
I'm
And
in
he
love with the
just
most
he just said
wonderful
that as a
man I've ever
pickup
known.
line,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
that's his reveal.
which kind of is answering the question of is he God or not?
Yeah. Okay. See, I didn't really think about it that way. Yeah, I think that's right. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So he is still saying he's God, which means like Kevin is incorporating that idea into this world, even though seemingly he doesn't necessarily know that that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and it's
that's another example of something that seems external.
and it seems like Kevin doesn't believe he's God, right?
No, I
So
mean he shoots Meg, he throws away the earpiece.
yeah, so why would you create a world in which you have a guy saying he's God, but you don't actually believe that he's God?
Yeah, it's weird. Especially when coincidentally a guy who looks exactly like that guy did say he was God in the real
Mm-hmm.
world. It's like, how did you come up with that? That's such a weird thing to even make up.
Yeah, just because you can have resurrected once, does that make you God? I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some more things you got to do there. Um. All right, yeah, we can go. Yeah, so this Christopher Sunday stuff was really interesting. Again, I think this is the biggest example that we have to suggest that this world is real in some way or connects to the real world in some way.
Yeah.
Is there any other explanation for Christopher Sunday being here?
I mean, what you would have to say for it to make sense, and it's not, I don't think it's totally impossible, but what you would have to say is that, somehow Kevin Sr. off screen showed him a picture and recounted the conversation they had.
Mm-hmm.
All details. And he picked up on that and incorporated it. I mean, I think that's the only way
Yeah.
he could possibly know that stuff. It's not impossible, I guess, but we certainly didn't see it happen.
Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like Grace doesn't have the internet, so I don't know how we look up a picture of this guy.
You don't think Grace has the internet?
It doesn't seem like she really has FiOS, you know. It doesn't look like she's got FiOS out there. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like that's unlikely that happened. But I guess we still have one episode to see if they explain. If maybe Kevin Senior is like, okay, you sure you saw Christopher Sunday? And he like describes him or something.
Right.
Yeah. And the fact that like he just tells Kevin Senior like, yeah, there's no song for the rain. Oh wait, what does he tell him? I forgot now. He hasn't gone back to tell him anything yet. That's at the end, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, that's at the end.
Okay, we'll get there. All right, yeah, we can go to the next part.
Okay, so right, so Kevin wants to quit the charade.
Charade, please.
Charade. Thank you. Thank you. I agree. So what do you want to do then? Says Patty. Kevin says, I want to go home. And she says, you said that before. But you keep coming back here.
Uh-oh.
Sounds like somebody has issues.
Somebody here is like a comic book. You got a lot of issues.
Oh, with the pun. Wow. Okay, so then they bring in No Beard International Assassin Kevin. Patty, I guess Patty sings a version of the theme from the Patty Duke show. I did not recognize this, just for the record.
Oh, is that what she was doing?
I never watched the Patty Duke show, so I
did watch the Patty Duke show a little bit. I couldn't tell you anything about it except it starred Patty Duke.
I probably could have told you that, but but yeah, she does some kind of like personalized version of it, and then explains how Kevin has to extract the key from his twin brother. And she says, may God have mercy on your soul if there is a God, which there is not.
Which there isn't.
Thanks, Patty.
Uh-huh.
Because if God is David Burton, then yeah, there's no God.
We're all in trouble.
So at first, the Kevins refuse to go through with it. So then Patty has the president after there's a lot of to do here, but Patty has the president read from the romance novel, which I thought was gonna somehow be the book because it kind of looked like the book, the Kevin book,
Mm-hmm.
but no, he wrote a romance novel. It's off screen. I don't know. He wrote a romance novel in the history before he came into the world somehow, I guess.
Yeah.
He wrote a romance novel in his mind, shall we say. Um, or they both wrote it? Anyway. Um, so, then he reads the page. You basically read the whole page earlier.
Mm-hmm. Now it's
So
your turn.
so you remember that, you remember what it was, the basic idea.
Yeah.
Um, all he knew to do was run. He was alone and all was well. That's the end, the very
Yep.
end. Um, so then the Kevins do some weeping. Um, and uh, No Beard, international assassin, Kevin says he wants the key removed, so we can't come back here again. Um,
Wait. So okay, can we stop there?
sure, sure.
This line. I received a call from the CIA that the president was keeping a secret journal hidden behind the portrait of Millard Fillmore in the Oval. You remember that line?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like and this was clearly a national security issue. I had no choice but to procure it. I'd like for you to read this, read this for us.
Right.
And it's the romance novel.
Right.
But it's interesting that she said it was a secret journal.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, just thought that was weird. Is it a journal or is it a romance novel? Is there a difference?
It's a journalistic romance novel.
All right.
It sounds
But
more
yeah.
like a novel than like a journal, but I guess, yeah, that's
Or
weird.
maybe they thought it was a journal, but it turned out to be a novel. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's the answer.
Yeah, yeah.
I did remember now the Patty Duke song. Yeah, they're cousins, identical cousins, and you'll find they look alike, they talk alike, sometimes they even walk alike, something like that.
Yeah, there you go.
You could, yeah. I did remember that. I did watch the Patty Duke show.
You did.
I did. And I remembered more than just that I started Patty Duke. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. Identical Kevins. Yeah, so yeah, like I said before, I kind of wanted the Kevins to talk more to each other and like hash their shit out because it's the only time Kevin can talk to Kevin, you know.
Right. Right.
But they didn't really hash their own shit out.
No.
It's weird that they both wrote the book and don't think they wrote the book.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's untitled, by the way, the romance novel.
Yeah, come up with a title.
Yeah, look, I mean, looks like it's written.
Yeah, you might as well come up with a title.
Yeah, and it's Nyla's title time. So, was the journal what was in her briefcase? Was that what was in the briefcase?
I think so. Oh. Oh, right. The secret briefcase? Must have been, but I actually don't remember.
Yeah, that's right. She takes it out. You're right. It looks like Kevin's book. It's got that kind of leather binding.
Yeah.
Which was that maybe a fake out that we thought it was Kevin's book and not this romance novel book?
Yeah. That's what I thought in the moment. I thought like, oh, they're gonna read from Kevin's book and it's gonna tell him something about himself. And maybe, just maybe, the book will serve a purpose.
Yeah, and is that why the book came back, just for this fake out here?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess there's still a chance for the book to play a role. There's one more episode, but it certainly didn't matter in this one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. All right. And so you're almost done with the. There's like another scene here, right?
Yeah, there's just a little more.
Okay.
Just a little more. So right. So he's gonna take out the thing and launch the nukes and all that. So they can't come back there again. He can't. We can't. Whatever. Too many pronouns here. And so Kevin, the president. I don't know that it really matters, but I guess the point is one of them has it, and that's the one who has to get cut into. Cuts out the key,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, I mean, sorry, it's almost like he's cast to kill the old Kevin. The international assassin Kevin is the one who like doesn't want any responsibilities, right? So it seems like, okay, metaphorically, he's got to kill that guy, and now he's the bearded Kevin now, who's I don't know what, but but it seems like there's something there with like, that's why it's only it's not like he takes the thing out of him, but he's somehow still alive at the end. He's got to like decide, I guess, and maybe that was the decision, So like, I guess if International Assassin Kevin was like, no, you can't take the code, then maybe the President Kevin would have died somehow or something, and old Kevin would be left. I don't know.
Maybe.
That's
interesting. I mean, I guess the original idea of the assassin was he was going to assassinate the president. So I guess.
Yeah. So he would. Yeah. That makes sense.
It was sort of a contest. Yeah. Who's
gonna die?
And I guess if International Assassin won, then maybe Kevin just stays there or something.
Something.
Or at least like he's free to come back.
It was a very odd scene to watch two Justin Theroux's, one penetrating the other, for lack of a better word. Seeing someone stuff their hand in somebody else is not. You don't see that all the time on TV.
It's true.
Unless you're watching like a medical show, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing was real up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not surviving that. It's not like, I'll just remove this from behind your ribs. It's like, yeah, no, you're killing me.
Yeah, it's deep.
Yeah. Yeah, very strange depiction of this, dichotomy here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So the other Kevin looks up and says, "We fucked up with Nora." Just in case that wasn't already clear.
Yeah.
And then he dies basically. We get the key, gets the key, goes to turn the key, and so they turn the key, and Patty suggests that they go out inside and watch. And so they go outside, and we see these missiles arriving. Sort of reminded me of that scene from the beginning of the season, where like the missile sort of comes towards them, and then they're kind of cuts to white, and that's the end of his adventure this time.
Yeah.
In the crazy world, probably the last time, unless the next episode brings us back there. I mean, we're so late in the show that things could definitely be ending, and this seems like a likely moment where this will end.
The other thing I wanted to reference here with Kevin, I don't know my theological history as well as I should, but doesn't Jesus have a wound on his chest like that? Am I making that up?
I thought his wound was supposed to be in like lower abdomen, like more on the side.
Yeah, the final wound was in the side of Jesus' chest, where, according to the New Testament, his body was pierced by the Holy Lance in order to be sure he was dead. The Gospels do not specify on which side he was wounded. It was conventionally shown in art as being on Jesus' proper right side, though some depictions, notably a number of Rubens, show it on the proper left. So this is pretty close. I would say this is fairly. I'm looking at a painting from I don't know, the 1300s, 1400s,
Mm-hmm.
and he's being pierced basically right in that area
Okay.
by this Roman land. So I think that's close enough to be a homage.
Sure. Sure.
I figured that's the only real reason to have this really graphic thing happening here, with this thing being in his chest area,
Right.
was to like call back to that.
Right. I guess he also has to kind of sacrifice himself.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, thought that was weird. And then yeah, they go watch, which was very weird to see, and I guess it's like, I don't know what you're supposed to feel about it. Like, is everybody happy this is happening? Like, and by the way, this is not like how you really destroy the world, because some people will survive and just live out their days in horror.
Right. Yeah, I know. Don't think about that. Don't think about like
Mm-hmm.
nuclear fallout and you know
Yeah, radiation
the
poisoning.
post-apocalyptic like wastelands.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, the desperate clinging to survival and
Yeah, the ones who say, "I didn't vote for him.
yeah, yeah. I told you, people.
This is not what I
It
wanted."
was
Right?
not hashtag not my president.
Right. Lesser of two evils, my ass. Right?
Oh man. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Oh, geez, not my president. Okay. Well, yeah, that happened.
It did, I guess. In
And
whatever
I guess
sense
that means
something happens
those
over
were
there.
Russian nukes that killed their world.
Yeah, I guess
The American
so.
part of their world.
Yeah, yeah. I guess their nukes got launched the other way, and
Yeah.
then the other nukes came for them.
But what about the places that didn't get hit with a nuke?
No, all the places got hit with.
All the places. All right.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not. I mean, it doesn't seem. If it's all going on, if Kevin created this world, I mean, no offense to Kevin, but I don't think he fully envisions like a full planet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It's interesting they didn't go more like sci-fi or something and go, um, we have a bomb in the planet's core or something, and we'll set the bomb off and it'll destroy the Earth.
Right, right.
Something crazier
Yeah.
and more finite, or finale. Is
More
that the word?
finale, as we say in English.
More finale. Yeah, that's what they say.
Finale.
Yeah, don't you want to watch the series finale? Okay, so the next part.
What was it? Jason
Kevin,
Goes to Hell, the finale Friday?
the finale Friday, yeah. So this next part, did you describe this next part when Kevin wakes up?
No. So Kevin wakes up in a
Yep.
tarp in Grace's church. I guess they like put him out there with the other Kevin nearby.
When, I think, is the operative question.
Well, when is clearly the operative question. So yeah, Kevin sees John and Michael sleeping nearby, and his dad is on the roof of the house. So he goes over to Kevin Sr. Kevin Sr. says, "I thought you were gone," and it was raining so hard, so he was scared, and so he came up to the roof. And
to let you drown. down there.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Uh, and he still wasn't ready to come down. Um, and finally he asks, "Now what?" And that's the end of the episode.
Man, you should have been asking now what earlier.
Totally.
Totally. Now you ask now what?
It could have been now what a long time ago. You should have asked Tony the chicken now what.
How about they should have asked some now whats and some what ifs and some if thens and
some maybe others. And...
some why nows and some what happens ifs. Yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little late for what now.
It is.
How did he think he thought he was gone. So he took him out of the bathtub. He took him. Yeah, he put him where the dead people are. Yeah. Basically.
Seems like.
And he just dumped him out there, and it was raining so hard that he was like, "I'll just leave my son down there."
Yeah.
To maybe drown. It didn't rain forever, clearly.
Yeah.
And so all the flooding's gone.
The apocalyptic flood seems to have been averted without the need for the song.
But even the flood that was happening on the ranch seems to have subsided, because he was like, the whole ranch is flooded.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I took him out of the pond, and it seems fine now.
It's not a big problem. Definitely.
Wow.
So, Kevin Sr. on the roof does seem like it's a reference to the thing from the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm. With the colonial lady or whatever.
All standing on the roof waiting for the rapture.
Did I ever mention on the podcast that I found out that was supposed to have taken place in Australia?
I don't think you said it on the podcast. I think you said it off the podcast, and I was surprised to learn that, and now not surprised.
Yeah, now it seems like it's
seems fitting. It seems like it's a similar idea to what they did in season 2, where like that whole thing took place in like what would later be Miracle.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, they're connecting the two stories that way.
Exactly. Yeah, and so we sort of come to Kevin Sr. with his like roof moment of disappointment.
Mm-hmm. It looks like the same church too,
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It looks very similar.
Now
style.
We just gotta find out about those birds.
Oh man, that's all that's missing. It's the last mystery.
Gotta get those bird answers. Yeah, that's all we need.
We need those flock of answers. Birds.
Exactly.
Get some beaks. Yeah, I didn't have anything.
Yeah, I mean birds and like
maybe they can dovetail into some answers.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Maybe they can pigeonhole. Nah, I have nothing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like for as for birds, the machine,
birds. What's gonna happen with Nora?
The flash forward, what's gonna happen with Nora? I mean, all that's related clearly.
Mm-hmm.
So like probably all those answers, to the extent that we get answers, will come in the same, general storyline. But yeah, I think that's pretty much now what, like, that has to be resolved. We have to figure out like where Kevin's gonna go from here.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of them, I don't know. I mean, what, Grace is gonna like go to jail now? I mean,
well, the cop that Kevin Sr. hit needs to wake up and call for backup.
Yeah, so maybe they both go to jail. She'll get maybe a longer sentence because she actually did a murder, and Kevin Sr. just kind of is an accomplice and it just knocked the guy out.
I don't even think they'll address it.
You don't think so? I mean, that's some serious shit. At least the murder.
Yeah.
You don't think she's going to jail for murder?
Who knows about it, though? Like...
People know he's missing. It was on the news.
People know he's missing, but who knows that he's there at her farm?
Well, they don't know that he's there. Oh, yeah. Well, okay. If they decide to cover it up, if they decide to bury him. Her claim was that she was going to turn herself in after this was over.
Well, But she didn't find out about the shoes.
She didn't get. If I don't get my shoes, I'm not going to jail. Mama's not
Exactly.
going to jail until she gets
Mom
her
ain't going
shoes.
nowhere. Yep. Yep. She might say that, like, but you killed a man. Why does it even matter? Maybe that's her answer. She didn't know Liam said that exactly.
Right.
Oh, Liam.
Yeah. He didn't really say exactly.
Yeah, your kid said it didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. In a way, I feel like that would be a more helpful thing to say. Like that might provide more closure than just they didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's, this sort of pact that they had. There's got to be some kind of fallout from that.
Yeah, but we just might not focus on it.
Oh, I agree. I agree that we won't. I 100% agree that we won't focus on it.
Yeah, we might not see.
But
the
I imagine it being like, a very quick thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just to, what I mean? Because the drama is not going to focus on that at this point.
And maybe Grace is like, okay, she's going to ride off on her horse, and she's like, I'm going to turn myself in now, and, maybe she's like, you guys take care of my house, or maybe the people will come back who were building the boat, I don't know. But maybe she'll take credit or responsibility for hitting the other cop. Maybe she'll be like, okay, senior, I'll take responsibility for that since I'm going to jail anyway.
Yeah.
And then maybe he'll be off the hook.
That could happen.
But I'm imagining, like, I don't know. I guess John and Michael go back to Miracle.
Yeah, presumably.
Which is weird because I feel like whatever arc Michael had kind of got shafted.
Yeah, it's gone. There was
it
none.
just turned into like, oh, I'm not interested in this.
Yeah. He just kind of disconnected pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like
I felt like it was the boat or something.
Yeah, I
like
think he was out on the boat already.
Yeah, like the orgy on the boat, like changed his mind or something.
Yeah.
Or like something happened. It would have been great if he had gotten a little bit of Matt's storyline with David Burton. If he had known that this guy was an imposter or something, and that would have helped change his mind. But yeah, it's not clear what changed his mind. And then Matt's with Nora. Yeah, I feel like Kevin's just gonna go by himself and try to find Nora, and the rest of the people will just kind of mosey on home or something.
Yeah.
I guess Kevin Sr.'s not hearing voices anymore.
Yeah, I know. I was wondering if he was gonna like have a moment of reflection about the voices now that this kind of came to nothing and just left in its wake a bunch of destruction and at least one dead body.
Yeah, well,
two dead bodies. I guess
he's got to say something about it, and. Or if the voices are back now and they give him another mission, and then Kevin is just like, okay, you're just crazy.
Right.
Like...
Maybe he has to just, reject the voices himself or something. But yeah, that's definitely something they should address if they want to like have closure for that character. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think really John also, like, to a lesser extent than Michael, but I think he didn't really get a lot of attention this season either. If you compare to like what they did with him in season 2, he got like such a heavy focus. And like, to the level that he was like a main character, and he's more just kind of on the sidelines for most of the season.
Because he was mostly fixed, I think. That's what happens when you don't have problems.
He had just this one thing, and it wasn't, and it was even like not. It wasn't even like a sort of a deep pain thing. It was really just like, tell Evie she was loved,
it was just one last thing keeping him from moving on.
Yeah, which seems like, I don't know, it seems way like less of a problem than the others. Like it's the sign of healthy thought patterns, at least.
Yeah. And considering how all this ended, like, Laurie, you shouldn't have killed yourself. Like, seems like, most people didn't get what they wanted. It wasn't that, the build up to this whole thing seemed really crazy, and like Lori's decision sort of made sense in context. But now that it's over, it seems like, oh wait, why'd you do that again?
Yeah, maybe she went overboard.
Literally.
Um, I mean, things did. It's true. It's actually true. I mean, things did go pretty far, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's just that now that it's all settled, it just
Now
seems
that
like,
Kevin's
oh,
okay,
yeah, there's no like flood and like all that
yeah,
part of it wasn't really happening, and um, yeah, I don't know. I still think Lori's still alive. I think we'll see her next episode. I'm holding that hope.
uh, yeah. I think that's definitely possible. That's definitely possible. I don't think we'll spend a lot of time with her, but they could definitely have some final
Mm-hmm.
moments, some closure with that character.
Yeah. So yeah, my crackpot idea last podcast, that Kevin would maybe see Nora in the hotel world. So that didn't happen.
Right.
Um, and it seems like it's not gonna happen
I
if the
don't think
world's
it's gonna
gone.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if
They did the
Nora goes to the
flashback
machine.
instead.
Yeah, like if Nora goes to the machine, will Kevin try to follow her through it?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Potentially.
because they talk about, what's the name of the boat? They talk about the Merciful.
Mm-hmm.
In Kevin's romance novel.
Right.
And maybe that's the machine or something.
Could be.
Um. So I don't know. It seems. Yeah. Again, I don't know why, Kevin. Why? What's your malfunction?
Why,
Maybe we'll find
Kevin?
it in the
Why?
final episode. Yeah.
Explain
Maybe in the
yourself.
final episode we'll get what his deal is. Like, why do you want to run away? What's you? He feels like a fraud. We get that much. He's dressed up as a hero, but he's scared. Like, okay, we get that, but why?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Maybe we'll find out.
Maybe we will find out.
Or maybe we'll just
Mm-mm-mm.
never know.
Oh, jeez. I guess we'll have to let the mystery be.
We might have to. Hey, I forgot to mention that. Interesting thing, they used the theme music from season one
Uh huh.
for the opening credits. I thought that was kind of a cool thing.
I thought that was cool too. I thought it was like, okay, let's not play around. This is a serious episode. Like, we're not gonna do any of these like tongue in cheek,
Jokey, zany,
jokey,
yeah,
like renditions of whatever. We'll just do the real thing.
yeah. It was interesting seeing like the season one theme music with the season two video credit
Mm-hmm.
sequence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it leaves open the question of what they're going to do in the final episode.
Yeah.
Because like
Season two
I could imagine
theme
them doing
song.
this in the final episode. Yeah, so they could go back to Let the Mystery Be, which they haven't used all season. Or they could do something else. I don't know. Maybe there's no credits. Maybe they change. Who knows? But they've
Have you
been
seen
messing around with those a lot.
Have you seen any new scenes in that opening sequence? Because I feel like there's a couple that I don't remember ever seeing.
For a long time, I thought they were changing, and then I convinced myself that they weren't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
but then every now and then I'll see one that I'm like, I'd never seen that one before.
that happened to me too. But then, like, I reviewed the things, and it seemed like they were the same, and I forgot about some of them. I don't know. See if you can
They
find
did
some, because
re-edit
I
it.
did think
Yeah,
that
there
at a
was
certain
some.
point. But
There was a re-edit at a certain point. I know where
oh,
it was like
okay.
they were showing the same images in different order,
Oh,
but
okay.
like, yeah, there's one here, like the one where let me see if I can find it again. Well, it's not. I don't know where it is. Yeah, here it is. It's the one. Oh, I just passed it. Sorry. It's like two people kissing, but like the person is like floating away and kind of like wispy. It's when they show the name of the editor, I believe.
What's how long?
David Eisenberg.
How long into the?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's close to the end of it. They're talking about the editor, so it's close to the end of it.
Close to the end.
But you see like a woman, and then
oh
she's
yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah,
guy.
No, I've seen
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure this is the first time they've shown it, but I just don't remember this. At all.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that, and yeah, I gotta go back and look at them and see, because I feel like they're putting like a one in new or something every couple episodes or something weird.
Sure.
But yeah, okay. Pretty good episode.
There was.
We're down to the last one.
The show is ending. It's crazy. And yeah, I mean, to go back to your point from the beginning of the episode, this definitely makes clear like what the focus of the show is going to be, at least for the end game. Like they brought in a lot of these elements, and you know, however much we get about the machine or what have you, birds, it does seem like the focus is going to be on the characters.
Yep.
And that's not really a shock, but
Mm-hmm.
but somehow I guess like things got so out of control with the plot that it started to seem like the plot was a bigger thing than it turned out to be.
Well, and it's funny, you know, the whole trope that, you know, they kind of used on Lost, where if they were done with something, they'd burn it up, and they kind of did it with the book, with Kevin's book. Yeah, the book came back.
Yeah.
Well, they burnt up the Kevin's world,
Yeah,
you know,
they did.
in the biggest way you can. So hopefully that means we're done with it.
I think that means we're done with it.
But I wonder if it's another fake out, and
it could be.
And it's setting us up to believe that he can't go back there.
Yeah.
But, you know, and then he'll get into some situation where it's ambiguous if he's there or not, because it's like, well, on the one hand, you know, he destroyed it, but on the other hand, maybe he didn't, so that's where he is, you know. Because it's almost like if Kevin wanted to create a world where he did go to where the departed people went, like, that might be possible, you know. And if all the departed people are dead, I think it's even more possible that he could have created that world, you know. So I that's the kind of thing I feel like they're going to end the show on, is like, yes, something else supernatural happens, like they go somewhere else, but it's just going to be still, you know, it'll be like the ending of like Inception, you know, where like something happened, right? But, you know, you won't be able to tell because the top is still spinning.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like if there's any surprises or twists, I mean, since it's the final episode, there's definitely an opportunity to do that. I think I'm expecting if they do that, it's gonna be something that ties in with sort of some kind of key idea for the characters, the connections between the characters or whatever, something along the lines of the Flash Sideways, which, you know. That would kind of be along those lines. So, I mean, in a final episode, it's kind of a lot of the rules that apply to normal episodes don't apply anymore. For example, like I kind of expect, even though like this doesn't have to happen, but I kind of expect like Matt to die. You know, just because like they've established that he's dying, and
but his cancer's back. But is he gonna die that quickly? I mean, it's been like 2 days.
Well, there's a flash forward, so you know.
Oh, you mean that he has died?
I think they'll. I mean, maybe they'll show some of that time. I don't know how they're gonna portray it, but you know what I mean. I feel like there's gonna be some indication that he's dead.
Yeah, I think Kevin's gonna die. I think
Kevin could definitely die, but I'm not 100% convinced that he'll die.
I think he's gotta die because of all this whole thing about him not being able to die. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think they'll be like, okay, let's see if he can really die, and yeah, he can.
Yeah.
But I think it'll still be a weird, did he go somewhere else kind of a thing.
Right. Right. That makes
Or
sense.
is he imagining this afterlife,
Of
because it could
course.
be the world we saw with Nora, the flash forward, could be another Kevin's world,
True.
where he thinks the machine worked and he died, but the world is there and he's doesn't know why there's a new world, but it's like different than the old one,
Right.
and like Nora's there and has used the machine but it's like, did he all create this or is this the real world?
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's what I'm expecting.
Okay.
You got any big theories?
I mean, yeah, not. I mean, beyond what we've already said, like, I mean, I guess, like, I only feel comfortable, like, guessing on stuff that's like obviously coming, because like stuff.
That's no fun.
Well, because like stuff like that, I just don't feel. Um, sorry, I just don't feel like I can really predict it in any like reliable sense. I mean, I could go out on a limb and try to say like
Yeah,
something
that's the point.
something
Like,
crazy
go out
is
on a
gonna
limb.
happen, but
Well, it doesn't have to be crazy, but
yeah, like I guess ah, I really don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I think we'll get some resolution on the machine. I think Matt will die. Kevin will go try to find Nora. They probably will have more scenes together. Um, and we're gonna get to that flash forward somehow, and how that's all gonna work. you know, I I don't see them ending in another world personally, but
mm-hmm.
I don't discount the possibility. But it just I feel like they're gonna end in the so-called real world.
Mm-hmm. I think. I mean, I think that's. I think if they can have their cake and eat it too and be in the real world, I think that's what they would do. Um, but I feel like there's this. Um, they have the chance to kind of say something, here's the second supernatural thing that's happened, but then call it into question if it actually happened that way or
Right.
not. So I don't think they'll cut to a world and it's where the departed people went, clearly, and it's been 7 years and everyone's 7 years older and then Nora shows up there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, I guess it could just be a traditional flash forward.
That's what I'm.
And
That's what I'm expecting.
Kevin's just dead. He's just died.
I don't know if Kevin's
And
necessarily dead, but potentially.
yeah, Kevin's potentially dead. But then what's the end of the story then?
Well, I don't know what the end of the story is.
So you're not thinking there's any big reveal.
I think there could be a reveal. I just don't know what it is.
Hmm. But you don't think it's where they are because you think they're just in
I
the
don't think
future.
the reveal is necessarily where they are. Now that doesn't take away the possibility that they go somewhere before we get to that point. I'm just saying I feel like they'll end in the real world.
Oh, they'll end in the real world. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
fair.
yeah. Like yeah. If possible, there's an interlude or what have you where other other worlds present themselves. Um,
Yeah, I kind of feel like they're gonna end with it being ambiguous if it's the real world.
they could
That's
do
how I
that.
feel like it's gonna be like that.
They
It'll
could do that.
be maybe it's the real world, maybe it's not, but why does it matter?
Damn you,
That's how I feel like it's
Liam.
gonna. Yeah, that's how I feel like it's gonna end with like this weird like, maybe they're together, but maybe it's not real, and someone's gonna ask. It's kind of like the end of Total Recall.
Right.
What if it's all a dream? Well, kiss me before you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't really matter if it's a dream. Just enjoy it.
Right. Which is how I feel about Inception, by the way. I think we talked about that in our
Mhm.
Inception podcast.
Mhm.
It's the kind of thing where it's like, if it's a dream or not, like in a way, at least character wise, it doesn't matter because he dealt with his problems and
Yeah, and he,
he
he got what he wants,
allowed
and
himself to
it's
go back and see his kids, and you know what I mean. So it's like, Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's fine if that's his dream world. He resolved his issues, and like who's to say we aren't all living in a dream world anyway?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The collective dream.
Exactly.
Well, cool, man. Anything else on this episode?
I think that's it for this one.
Cool. Well, we'll be back next time with the final episode of The Leftovers.
Yeah, can't wait.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right, see you then.